Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 12th episode of the Neon Crew podcast. My name is Kyle.
And my name's Kyle.
Hey, what's up, Kyle?
Okay, yeah, I'm leaving.
Oh, wow, he really left. That's crazy.
We are not good with these intros.
No, we're not. It's the second one we've had to do. Damn it.
Okay, I'm Gideon.
Hi, Gideon.
Hey, Gideon.
Also, we should say that that is McClain over there. That is not second Kyle. There can only be one.
I was going to say you forgot your name again, Kyle, but my name's Mac.
Yeah. You're just confusing me with you, as it happens all the time. Yeah, I figured, we'd get Gideon back on, you know, have some good goofs, have some laughs.
Yeah, shenanigans.
Some shenanigans. But most importantly, I figured we could talk about the MCU.
Versus.
Us.
Got it.
Us versus MCU.
I mean, pretty much. We're going to be going over these movies in depth, I feel like, and kind of either praising them deservingly or ripping into them equally as deservingly, depending on which films we talk about.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah.
So the way this is going to work is it's going to be very similar to our A24 episode that we had also with Gideon, episode 4, where we're just going to go over our top MCU films that we ranked the best to the worst, and we're just going to read them off, and then we'll just have a repertoire, have a talk, just kind of have a dialogue off of those lists, and that will pretty much be the bulk of the episode. So
it's a fair. Yeah, that's a good guess.
I figured we could start with
fair assumption.
Yeah, I figured we could start with just a simple going over like what we each think about the MCU, because we're going to talk about the MCU specifically. You know, we're not talking about Blade or Ghost Rider or like the 2003 Daredevil or anything.
Maybe at this point I should go.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, technically Chris Evans is in, you know, Fantastic Four.
He is, yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yes. Is he Mr. Fantastic?
No,
he
he's
the Flash.
He
was the burning
Flash.
The Flash? What's his name? No, his name is the Human Torch.
It's Human Torch. Isn't it like Johnny Storm or something? Like that's his name.
Yeah, it is something.
Even though he turns into fire, he doesn't have
that
like
a porn
electric.
Star?
No, you're thinking of
Oh my goodness.
you're thinking of someone else.
Yeah.
Johnny Storm, though, I mean, that is a good crossover between like something you'd find in the back of Family Video and the front of Family Video.
That's true. Plus, I mean, the first, if I can just remember it correctly, like the first scene that he is in Fantastic Four, he's on a motorcycle making out with a girl driving a convertible. Like they're driving side by side down a highway.
Oh, really?
I think that's like the first scene that he's in.
Dude, that screams middle school Mac right there. Like,
Oh my god!
I had to have been the demographic for that. Like,
Oh yeah,
oh my god, that just sounds awful.
wearing like a tap out shirt.
Oh
know it.
Oh no! Oh
He's got his
no!
leather
That's
jacket
Got
on.
like the frosted
Yeah.
tips.
Oh yeah. There's Sugar Ray's going as he's like making out with that chick.
You listen to ska, but you don't tell people that you listen to ska. What a great time.
Man,
So yeah,
I've never seen that movie. I'll just be clear, front with you guys. I've never seen that movie. So
You're being
anytime
honest.
you drop knowledge on Fantastic Four, all three of them, I've never seen any of them.
I guess there's two of the first one,
Right?
like the first series, and then they remade it.
Then they
They had Miles Teller come in.
Yeah, I like how Fantastic Four was already hated, and then they remade it, and everyone's like, "Yeah, the first one's not that bad."
yeah.
I feel like that happens all the time.
After seeing this one.
Yeah.
Fant 4 stick, how they stylized it. They put the 4 where the A should be. So
stupid.
Yeah. I feel like that's like the last of like the sort of stylistic title choices where like they just insert numbers into where letters should be. But,
yeah. The 4 really looks like an A.
If you make it stubby, it kind of does.
Yeah, if you squish
Okay.
it down to like the same size as the letters, you know,
Right.
we're getting
Did
into
they do
whole
that?
like marketing works and whatever.
Listen, man, just because we're a movie pod doesn't mean we also can't be a font pod.
That's
all right.
true.
I want to know what they were thinking, the size, and if it was Gambordia or
Maybe like
times
sand.
erosion. Yeah.
Times erosion.
times New Roman.
Times
Oh
erosion.
my god.
What's your guys' favorite font? I really like Stencil, the like military one. That one's pretty good.
Actually, I don't know. I'd have to go through. There's a couple that I use when I get really fancy.
Can we all
Arial's
agree?
like my default.
Arial's pretty good.
I mean, right? It's like a good default.
I always like the I think it's
like a good resume font.
Segu or Seju. I don't. It's like Segui. The Seju.
I'm not
Segu
too-
light.
Yeah.
It's really fine letters.
I'm not too familiar with that. That might be a little niche for me.
Yeah.
I'm a very like
That's probably the only one I can name other than Times Erosion.
yeah. I'm very surface level when it comes to my font knowledge. But can we all agree that like the default like basic bitch answer is Comic Sans?
Oh yeah.
Like, if you say Comic Sans is your
Oh.
favorite, you're just a poser.
Starbucks lover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Capitalist
Absolutely.
pig. Commercialized.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a good way to go into a first date. Asking, like, what's your favorite font? And if they go Comic Sans, like, you can just go, I won't be paying for dinner because I'll never see you again.
Well, what's better? Like having someone say Comic Sans or having someone say, I don't know a single name of a font.
I like that answer better
That probably
because they're
is.
transparent and I don't have to carry on the conversation.
At least at that point, they're honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And then I still don't pay for the date because I'll never see him again because who the fuck doesn't know font?
Exactly. Uncultured. We got a little off track, but we'll bring it back. So I guess how do we feel about the MCU and like all the series of movies that have come out in like the last decade and like their impact on cinema?
It's interesting. I don't know. I'm kind of when it first was happening, I was very I did not like it. Didn't really feel like superhero movies were, where they were at. I think so when did Iron Man 2008?
2008 is when Iron Man came
2008
out.
dropped. So I mean, like at that point, I had seen Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. I had seen Batman and possibly The Dark Knight.
It's weird to think that Iron Man came out a year after Spider-Man 3. Like,
Oh my gosh.
those movies feel like they're worlds away from each
That's
other.
what
Yeah, it really does.
That's like, so Iron Man was really refreshing when it came out because like you had a lot of the cartoony, like Batman, you had, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know if The Dark Knight had come out yet. 2008 is pretty damn close to Iron Man. So like, yeah, Batman Begins was the first one where you're actually getting a little bit of a live looking at a superhero with depth.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
you actually get a little
Gritty.
Yeah. And
Well, are you saying Toby with the black suit is not gritty?
they tried. They tried.
There's a word for that. I don't know if gritty would be the one to describe
Oh, there's a couple adjectives that you could throw right there.
it. Yeah, perfect is what I would say. But yeah, like it is weird to think that like they're so close together like that. And like I feel like when Iron Man came out, like people didn't really know that it was going to turn into like this bigger thing, obviously. So I'm sure like people saw it and they enjoyed it, but then I'm sure there was a good subsection of people who saw it and went like, oh yeah, but this is just going to be like a one-off, it's going to be like Daredevil 2003 with Ben Affleck. It's just going to like be a one and done.
All those superheroes, that's how it was. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
were cartoony. The guys, I mean, they made them so much revolving around a comic strip versus the actual character.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like you see some of those origin stories that. Now, not to say that Iron Man did it. I think they did a better job, but like a lot of them, if they were a first release, like I'm trying to think, like Superman Returns, maybe like there's just no depth behind the character. It's kind of like who he is, and we're just gonna thrust him into this role.
Yeah.
I think Iron Man worked so well because it was like the first time that a superhero movie, I don't even know how to put it, like it just showed the potential of what the superhero movies could be. For example, it seems like every superhero movie beforehand, they get their powers within the first like couple minutes of the movie, or something like that. It's like, here's the origin and it's them in spandex fighting the whole time. But Iron Man, you're like into it. Like, you're like, who is this guy? Like, obviously this is Iron Man, but it's just some rich billionaire. And then it takes time to build up. And then by the time he becomes Iron Man, you're like, oh, there's so much depth to this character already. I don't know.
Yeah, you learn who Tony Stark is as a person before you learn about him as Iron Man, as a superhero.
And the internal, like the conflict he has with what he's doing. Like, honestly, if you had taken, so I think kind of where they botched it was they skirted around some of like how the superheroes become who they are. Like Bruce, I think like the Batman Begins was like probably the first one that actually jumped into how Bruce Wayne became Batman.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
actually get to see
That's
some of
true.
that. You know, like Stan Lee writes this stuff, and you get to see, and in the comic strips, you probably know about the conflict that he faces as a kid and how he's grown up to be the person he is. But in the movies, it's so hard to reflect that that a lot of people, I think, just assumed if you're watching it, you've already read the comics, you know Bruce Wayne lost his parents, and we'll just go from here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like we don't even really need to touch on it. And I think that's where a lot of the fault was, and that's why it was so cartoony because the characters were already there, so you can dive into the action. Whereas, you know, like Iron Man. How long does it take before he actually puts on his first suit?
Yeah, and his first suit isn't even his first suit. It's not even like his original
Yeah.
suit. It's like just him trying. Well, it's a survival. It's like I don't know. It's a pleasant movie.
Yeah. I mean,
It really stands on its own.
It really does. And still to this day, you ask someone like, "What's your favorite MCU movie?" and they'll go, "Well, Iron Man for sure." Everyone says that, except Mac, who makes a weird face.
no, but it could be up there.
It's up there for me, but I wouldn't say it's my number one.
I would say often, I suppose.
I'm saying, like, you have 27 films that came out, the most recent being in 2019, like a 2008 film. The very first one that hits the MCU should not be listed. And then you still talk to people, and
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
oh, yeah, like, that's top 3. And that's how good it is. I mean, that's why you're right. I mean, absolutely, with the quality of where we're at with films and the story making and where it's gone. Like, Iron Man, when I did my list, I was like, I definitely want to have it up there because it really, when it came out, it was refreshing, and it was one of those, it was different. And,
The villain was kind of stupid, but
well, I mean,
happens.
I like Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniels.
I don't think that's the right movie.
Both Jeffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So,
It's crazy too how much like the special effects still hold up in the first Iron Man too, because like I don't know if they did it on purpose or if it was just like happenstance, but the way that they made the special effects for the suit, because it's so clearly like just, you know, it's supposed to look like a metal suit, so I imagine it's like not the hardest thing to CGI, you know, you just have to like have these different like reflections of it on it and stuff, and
oh my gosh, yeah,
it'd probably be like easier to CGI that than it would, I don't know, like the dragon from Shang-Chi or whatever.
I feel like I need to go back and like look at like rewatch the first one and compare it to like Tom Holland's Spider-Man, because I still to this day think Tom Holland's Spider-Man suit looks so bad.
It looks so fake.
It's
like in
so
all
bad.
the movies.
Yeah.
Like,
and I don't understand why they decided to go with it. I mean, obviously too, those Tom Holland Spider-Man movies have the worst posters and cover
oh
art.
Jesus, don't even get me started
God,
on
they're
that.
terrible.
The fucking Homecoming poster
is awful.
is like one of the worst I've seen.
Yes. No, it's terrible.
They have like 2 different iterations of like each character in there. Because you got Iron Man flying in the front, and then you've got like a big ass picture of Robert Downey Jr., and then you've got the same thing for Tom Holland, and then Zendaya's just hanging out there, and it's just
it's terrible.
There's
it's
a lot
so
going
bad.
on.
There's too much going on.
But to answer your question that you asked forever ago, it's nice, kinda. Like, I'm the biggest Marvel critic. My last job, everybody I talked to, they collected every single poster. Every movie that came out from Marvel was their new favorite movie, and it made me go crazy. Like, I was losing my mind.
It's like those were the only movies they ever saw.
They would watch Thor, you know, and they're like, "Oh, this is the best Marvel movie so far." And then Thor 2 would come out, and they'd go, "This is the best one so far." I'm like, "Well, that's bullshit.
Yikes.
There's no way." You know?
Yeah, that's a bad call.
But like, so I'm such a huge critic of it, but I do have to say it's nice how massive their project is, like what they had in mind, and how it actually worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
But man, one of my biggest critics though, which it's not my fault and it's not their fault because it's like based on the comics, but Iron Man versus evil Iron Man, Doctor Strange versus evil Doctor Strange,
the villain dynamics in like the origin
Ant-Man
movies
versus evil Ant-Man.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
It gets a little tiresome after a while.
Yeah,
it's
silly.
It hit me the most when Black Panther came out because it's literally just Black Panther versus evil Black Panther.
Yeah, it's the same villain. Mm-hmm. And you're like, I wonder who's gonna win.
That's when that and Doctor Strange is when I really felt it and was like, okay, they need to like have some more interesting villains for these.
Yeah,
effing
absolutely.
movies.
Yeah.
I think, and I've heard this somewhere else, and I'm paraphrasing, so forgive me, but it's like no matter what you think of how the MCU has like impacted cinema, whether or not it's like quote unquote ruining culture, and I know some people who like genuinely feel that way, no matter how like or what you think of it in that context, you have to admit that like Marvel is probably the ones doing it the best Like they're doing it the best possible way that they can, I feel like. And obviously not every movie is going to be a banger. You know, you got your like Thor 2 or Eternals or whatever, but essentially it's like you compare the MCU to like the DCEU or whatever they call it, and it's like night and day. There's like they have such a good build up for the movies that they put out for the most part, and like once it like hits that crescendo that is like the last Avengers movies, it really has like this feeling of like, oh, these characters are like paid off super well. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents, I guess, about it.
I mean it's true. It sucks, but it's true. You know. But
have you ever like met somebody who like genuinely feels that the MCU is like the end of culture as we know it? Because I've met somebody like that, and it's
really,
it is interesting. Yeah, like they hate them just for the sole fact that they're popular. And it's like,
yeah,
I get that like people don't like things because they're popular, but
so
at
like
least
being like counterculture, just
I think being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian.
I think there is a stance I suppose you can have. For example, like if MCU puts out any movie of any kind, if they make a new Marvel movie and it has the Marvel logo on it, it's going to be put in theaters. It's going to be advertised everywhere. And then you could be a huge fan of a smaller budget movie and then they'd have no budget because like they can't afford to make a movie that big. And so, I mean, it's the same thing with like pop radio. Like it's been like this for all of the world, you know. It's like you hate pop music, but it's going to be the most popular and it's going to be there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I can understand you can complain about it to an extent, but I mean,
there's
I'm like that too,
for sure. But I think there's also also just like the fact that trends exist.
Yes,
like trends have always come and gone. Like it's going to be the superhero trend for a while. It seems like it might be one of the more longer trends.
Yeah,
but something is eventually going to come and replace it. I feel like.
Thank God we're out of zombies and vampires.
Yeah, that was a trend for a good while.
We'll see. I guess I don't know. I think this has got a lot of staying power.
I saw. I'm sorry. No, you can continue.
No, I was going to say, I just don't. I think that this is going to be good. I don't. Scorsese, I know that he had some beef with it not too long ago. And like a lot of people have a problem with it. I don't know. I mean, you talk about what goes on in these films and how much has to be. I mean, this guy, Feige, right? Or
Kevin Feige.
I mean, he started this. I mean, he had the 4 phases built out in his head and he was ready to go. I mean, so to execute like that. And then, you know, everything that goes on in these films, like I have a hard time saying like you can't get behind, you know, what's being thrown out there. Like that's why I kind of struggle with it just a little bit. Now, granted, I do see a Disney effect, and I could see this becoming like a conglomerate and absolving
and that's
some of
these.
That's
the biggest thing I'm afraid of.
Yeah, yes. It's gonna get to the point where you have to. Someone's gonna go, what happened in this movie? They go, oh, they explained that in season 2 of this Marvel TV show. And then to watch that, you need to watch Loki before that because that will explain this.
Yeah.
And then that comes in the WandaVision. I mean, think about it now. Like, how many cartoon Disney movies came out in the past 2 years, and how many of them you watch, and then 30 days later you forgot every single thing about it?
I'm not gonna lie, not that many.
But okay, but you know what I mean, though.
What you're saying.
It's like I'm afraid that's gonna happen with these movies, which I feel like it's already starting to with all the spin-offs.
I couldn't do it like Loki right now. I keep looking at Loki and I'm like, all right. And I watch Eternals and there's deviants in Loki and there's deviants in Eternals. So I was kind of going back and I was thinking about Loki and I was like, I might have to rewatch that. Like I kind of don't remember everything that happened. Like Hawkeye's gonna come and go. I personally think the best thing that can happen is this turns into like a live action comic book. So you have all of this material, source material, right? And that it doesn't overtake cinema, but it just has its own corner of the world. And it's just really effectively done.
Yeah, Disney already has its own corner of the world.
Yeah.
Well, I'm concerned that they buy more of the world.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Marvel can with like, you know, do you think Marvel could come out with Jaws? Like that's where like potentially that's when it would get scary. Is like you read like Marvel's releasing, you know, Martin Scorsese's Flower of the Ember Moon or whatever, and like that's when I start to go, okay, like there's, you know, this isn't looking good in terms of the production house and who's got the money telling the person who's making it what to do. That's when it would probably get a little scarier. But right now I think they're pretty content with just, you know, they got so much like they've been making comics since the 40s.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
They've got a lot to draw from.
Oh my!
Well, they've got even more to draw from too because Disney bought Fox, so they get all the X-Men. It's weird how people were like, "Isn't it great how Disney bought Fox? Because now we get the X-Men in the MCU," and it's like. Disney's buying like all these companies. They're gonna have like a monopoly on movies in like 10 years.
I've always adored, man. I'm just gonna go on a tangent for a second. I've always adored the X-Men movies. They're so heavily flawed. But I'm specifically talking about like the first three, like X1, X2, X3. Just something about them. They were so special to me as a kid.
Oh my god,
they were so raw compared to the crap like Daredevil you're saying and stuff like that. Which I didn't. It just seems so lightweight. And then you have. Like the first X-Men, it's just like I feel like there's just so much death.
Well,
like it follows Wolverine, and he's like he hates everybody, and he just murders people with blades out of coming out of his hand.
His hate too is like it's probably the hate that you felt as a middle schooler, where you weren't quite visualizing like murdering people, but like punching a pillow bag or something. Like that's his reflection of how mad he. I mean,
pick any Marvel movie nowadays. They like kick somebody in the stomach, and that person dies.
Yeah.
You know, die. And then you go back, you watch an X-Men movie, and like he's literally like slashing people in the face. And
but that's where Logan came in for me, where I got the pure like yes.
Oh, Logan is well rounded.
How much I
haven't met someone that hates that movie. It's like people love it.
I've heard, I've talked to a couple of people, but I mean, like I disagree with them.
That's good. That's all we have to say. Anyways, we can go back on this MCU stuff.
No, that's great. I figured.
And that's the show for today.
Yeah, we'll just wrap it up. Yeah. This is a quickie podcast episode. No, I think that was a good discussion on like just how we feel about them, and it's interesting too, just like where they're gonna go.
Yeah, I have one more thing to say.
What's that?
Okay, listen. Maybe this is just me, but like I feel like they're gonna have to come up with better excuses to why like other superheroes can't be in other superhero movies. For example, I watched WandaVision, and I was like, after like 4 episodes in, I was like, where the hell are the Avengers? Like, if this is actually happening, where are all the people that I've been watching in all the movies? Like, it's so hard. It's so difficult to have it all make sense. It's the same world.
Well, it was kind of already the case with that. With I mean, we're gonna go into spoilers for all these movies anyway. I feel like.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen all 27 Marvel movies,
I haven't seen all 27 Marvel
tune out and catch up with the rest of the world, though.
But like to go back to that point, I guess. Like it was already happening with Avengers Endgame, when they had Captain Marvel go, oh, you think this world was the only one affected by the Thanos snap? I've got to go save other planets too. And they just like have her conveniently leave.
She's too powerful anyway.
Yeah, they know she's OP, so they have to like send her off to other worlds, and then she comes back when shit's hitting the fan and Thanos has his army. It's just very convenient.
I think, I personally think you got, as long as they have a little something in there, I'm cool with it. Like Eternals, honestly, like they had a little blurb in there, and I was like, I'll buy it. Like, that was it. Like I don't really, because I do get what you're saying. It's like, it does make sense.
It's so hard for me just to like take my mind off of it,
brush it off.
Yeah, it's so hard for me to do that because then you watch all the Avengers movies and you're like, oh, look at all this teamwork and stuff.
And
I have so many little complaints, man. It's just stacked
time
up.
To air them. You're gonna get them out when we go through these films,
when we go through the list, I'll just say little complaints, and people are gonna listen, and they're gonna be like, "That's so stupid. This kid's stupid. Don't have him on there."
No, but I think
it's just where my brain goes.
People probably hear it and agree with you. They'll be like, "I've been saying this for years. Finally,
Like I was talking. I'll just even say this because we're gonna get to the list. Is that I have like this Captain America Civil War so low on my list. One, because I haven't seen it in such a long time.
Oh yeah.
But two, all I remember when I watched the movie. Well, the first thing is like, okay, they have a security camera in like 1940. Okay, on a tree. Okay, that's already stupid. And then, but two is, I'm like, these are like the Avengers, and they're behaving like little kids on a playground. Like, whose team are you on? Are you on his team or my team? These people are supposed to protect the world, and they're literally having a fist fight in an airplane park, like on an airport, and we're supposed to take them like they're seriously from here on out.
It is very much like they're play fighting.
It is so forced that I couldn't take the movie seriously, and And I don't know. I haven't seen it in a long time, and I'm not saying the movie's pointless. And I know some people who absolutely love the movie. They're like completely like, this is one of my favorites because of the action and stuff. You know, it introduces Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't seem like that's what their characters would do.
No, I mean, I guess it depends because I think I have it. It's in my, because I kind of did phases, or I couldn't find like all lists, so I did I ranked them in terms of memory or impacts. I think that might be in the second batch, but
Yeah,
no, it is because I agree with the action stuff too, but it's also kind of funny to think about like if you took a group of friends and then you pitted them against each other for whatever reason. Like I don't think they'd necessarily be out to kill one another, but it would
they were out to murder each other in the movie.
I mean, it's funny if you think about it versus like, so if you go into it with like that realism, like if this side wins, this side's gonna lose. Like not kill, but like if the treaty goes through, then all these people can't do what they want, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Versus if you think about it, like, you know, like a middle school team of kids that are pissed off because someone's got to bring home the project one night and no one wants to do it. So you got side A and side B. Like, obviously they're going to beat the shit out of each other with rulers, but no one's going to get stabbed in the eye with a pencil. So it depends. Some of the perspectives on these films too, like depending on how you look at it, it can change the film. Like Thor 2, it got a little higher just because I viewed it as a comedy.
Well, that's a good segue into the list portion of our episode, I guess. So, does anyone want to go first in particular, or should I kick this off?
So,
can I preface by saying I made my list, like 2 days ago, in like 5 minutes.
That's fine.
And I'm gonna say I have a section of my list. They're movies that I haven't seen, and there's another section of my list where it's movies I've seen, but I don't remember almost a single thing about.
Okay.
Like because I don't repeat Marvel movies that often. The ones I like, I do.
Yeah.
But
right.
I mean, like, okay, so you can go on a list. Sorry, I'll explain it more. I suppose.
What are we doing?
Okay.
So are we just gonna go through 5 a piece? Are we dropping
We're just gonna do
all?
it. We're just gonna do it like we did A24. I'm just gonna read all that I have in best to worst order. And then
you can just, if you're offended by something on his list, you can call him out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. These are all movies that I have seen. So I didn't include Black Widow or any of the TV shows. I haven't seen any of the Disney Plus stuff.
I didn't do any.
I didn't include TV shows.
But I just left it at the movies.
Okay. So my number 1 is Thor Ragnarok.
Oh.
2 is Guardians of the Galaxy. 3 is Avengers Infinity War. 4 is Spider-Man No Way Home. 5 is Captain America The Winter Soldier. 6 is Iron Man. 7 is Avengers Endgame. 8 is Shang-Chi The Legend of the Ten Rings. 9 is The Avengers. 10 is Spider-Man Homecoming. 11 is Captain America Civil War. 12 is Spider-Man Far From Home. 13 is Ant-Man. 14 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. 15 is Avengers Age of Ultron. 16 is Doctor Strange, 17 is Black Panther, 18 is Thor, 19 is Ant-Man and the Wasp, 20 is Iron Man 2, 21 is Iron Man 3, 22 is Captain Marvel, 23 is Thor the Dark World, and then 24 is Eternals.
Wow. I have not seen Eternals yet, but that is so funny.
Eternals is the most boring movie in this whole list. Probably one of the most boring movies I've seen in theaters. So, to be honest,
wow, that's incredible! I can't wait to watch it.
Maybe, we'll hold on. So, should we hold out? Like, maybe we'll all just do and then we'll go into it, or do we have to? I don't have to.
Well, is there
blast you on any?
Is there anything that like popped out at you?
Ant-Man being so high.
Can I see? Can I just?
It's on the
look at your list.
It's
actually?
on the lower half of my list.
Your Thor Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy. And Avengers Infinity War. That all like your top few make.
They're probably my top.
Make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I had Winter Soldier super low on my list because I don't. Also, that was one of the ones where I've seen, but I've seen it once and I don't remember anything.
I've seen it a few different times.
So
I have a little more resonance with it.
Well, I know me and Kyle can agree on this because I think if I'm correct, I convinced you not to see one of these movies, and then I watched it, and then I had to tell you to go see it.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Shang-Chi.
I will say that I thought the advertising to Shang-Chi was terrible.
The marketing was bad.
Marketing was terrible. I thought the trailer was uneventful, and it did not look inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
And I openly told all my friends. I told all my friends. I said that movie looks so stupid. And then one of my friends, I think we just had a free night, and he's like, "You want to see Shang-Chi?" And I was like, "Sure, whatever." I went into it, and I think I was even telling Kyle, I was like, "You guys, this movie looks dumb. Don't see it."
Yeah, I had that same attitude. I was like, it looks like it's just the same level as Doctor Strange.
Yes.
It was so riveting watching that movie. Within the opening, like, the first 10-15 minutes of the movie, I was like, "Yep, this movie's gonna be super cheesy and bad." And then it's like,
it had the
the-
voiceover.
the
and
exposition.
the dad.
The only complaint I have about almost the entire movie is there's a little too much exposition throughout the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of it, and it's kind of slow.
Yeah,
But-
you kind of said that too, didn't you? Didn't you?
I said that. Yeah, I said that same thing. And also another complaint was like, I wasn't that much into like the last third of the movie compared to like the first 2/3. Because
the weird
it turned into
and
like
guy relationship.
Yeah.
Well, it turned into more that like sort of standard Marvel movie sort of climax where everything is like CGI, special effects, superpowers blowing up everywhere.
Yeah.
Whereas like the first few action scenes in the movie are so well choreographed and kind of grounded in a way.
Yep.
Like it's more
For sure.
so it's more so like a kung fu movie at those points than it is a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
I
think they
thought
did
it was
that on
refreshing.
purpose. They tried to keep as much of that in there as possible, and then I'm pretty sure a couple like big wigs came in and they're like, "All right, now enough of this.
We gotta have a dragon.
Yeah, we need dragon CGI."
And because they did so much that it's funny too because the last little bit with the creatures felt so forced.
Oh yeah,
Like they set it up so much, but there's so much going on with the dad that like you could really care less about all that stuff. And then like I'm not gonna lie, when that thing was getting close to being over with, I didn't think they were gonna bring the creatures out. Mm-hmm. And then it was just kind of like,
Yeah.
well,
they're just literally
you know?
demons.
Yeah.
That's it. They just they throw demons in there.
whatever.
Yeah, I was like seriously like 15 minutes into the movie, and then something clicked, and I was like really enjoying myself, and then I left the movie and immediately was like, you guys have to see this movie.
Dudes, it's pretty personable.
I was like, it's really good. I loved the actors, and like I like Awkwafina. The whole like she learned how to shoot a bow and stuff in one day. Okay,
That's
it's
a
the
little,
same. Yeah,
it's
it's
a little
the same.
tropey.
Everything,
Yes.
every one of these Marvel movies is gonna have something where people go, "That is so stupid." That was my thing. I was like, okay, that's dumb. But other than that, man, it hit. In the characters, they had the same guy from the Iron Man movie, the terrorist,
The Mandarin. Yeah.
the Mandarin, and he just stole like the middle half of the movie.
Oh yeah, I'm
Oh,
glad
he
that they
was-
brought him back.
He
it
I-
was like a light salad dressing, just put on. You know,
It was
perfect.
it was
I
so
was
funny.
like-
Yeah,
I was worried that his character from Iron Man 3 was just going to be like a one-off and thrown away, and because Ben Kingsley is a good actor.
Yes, and
So-
he does a good job. Actually, that's probably the only redeemable part of Iron Man 3. Is like him.
yeah. So I thought it was just fantastic. I don't know here.
Is there anything that I had lower on
Guardians
the
of
list?
the Galaxy 2. I'm surprised you had Guardians of the Galaxy 2
I
kind of
didn't-
low.
I didn't think it was as funny as the first one.
I think it was different. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and I mean, genuinely, I think the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie paved the way for how all other MCU movies were going to turn out.
Yes, I agree.
When Guardians of the Galaxy came out, it was amazing, and the sense of humor. It's like every single Marvel movie since Guardians of the Galaxy has like you can connect almost every element.
They're cool with being self-referential. Like,
Yep.
there's a good way of doing it, which is Guardians, and then there's a bad way of doing it is Star Wars, the third Star Wars, the Force Awakens or whatever. Or what's the one with?
You like the? I like the. Okay, let's not go. Into
I don't
that.
want to go. I don't want to go into it, but Domhnall Gleeson's in it, and they try to have him be a little bit of like a comedic factor in it. You know, about hey, we're gonna play off of what's going on in the film, and they don't do it that well. But like you know, I think there's a certain taste, or you know, whatever's required, whatever you want to say to pull that off, and that's James Gunn, right? And he's pretty good at doing that because they asked him to do it with Suicide Squad too, right?
Yeah, well,
So,
I haven't
you know.
seen that yet. But going back to Guardians 2, I think my biggest issue with that movie is like some of the characters felt a little inconsistent compared to the first movie.
They did. No, they focused a lot more on Drax, and they actually focused much less on Quill, even though it was like about him and his father.
Well, not only that, but to me, it felt like they switched Drax and Rocket's personalities for some reason. Like, it just felt like Drax was just the mean one in the second one.
Yes.
And
yeah,
they made Rocket slightly more stupid in the second movie. Like, he's asking Quill, like, he doesn't get like all the references that he makes, when in the first movie he felt like just this sarcastic, small, funny raccoon character.
Yeah.
And I liked that from the first one.
well,
Agreed.
yeah, and that's true. I mean, I guess you could maybe. I'm sure there's someone out there that could argue, like, who knows? Maybe Drax is socially awkward, so he changes over time based on who he's with. And he was around thugs a lot in the first one and had to defend himself, but now he's around the safety of these people. So
yeah,
maybe he
perhaps
becomes more comfortable. I don't know. I'm just saying.
It's a good theory, right?
And then who knows? I really don't know. But
like, I enjoyed the movie overall. Like, I liked the stuff with Ego and Kurt Russell, and I liked Yondu in the movie. I thought that was a good
he's got a little bit
character.
of a game going, doesn't he? Trying to.
Yeah, well, he's also got like a good character arc too, because he basically goes from like a villain figure in the first one to like Quill's father figure towards the end.
And I knew people that were a little upset who knew the comics that he was actually like a villain in the first one, because they were like, he's actually like a good guy in the comics, or
yeah.
And so
don't they pull the chair on you at the end of the Guardians? Yondu, by showing that he's a good guy.
They
remember that.
I think they allude to it throughout the movie that he's not evil.
Right.
I think he's just like kind of like
saved Quill or something like that in the first one. I could be mistaken.
He's got a lot of gray morals.
Yes,
as a
agreed
character.
with that.
So they sometimes like conflict with his relationships with people in his life.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
that's a good way of putting it, because it's portrayed that way.
And then you had Spider-Man: Homecoming. Oh, like the fact. I think that's pretty much what I'm looking at. Like, everything else in between here kind of makes sense to me.
All of it. I mean, I can't.
But I would like switch. Like, if it was me, if I had to adjust just a couple things, like I would move Guardians of the Galaxy up too, and then like I didn't care for Spider-Man: Homecoming that much.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I didn't care for it. It was so simple of a movie.
I think I liked it just the fact that
I love Jake Gyllenhaal. That's probably why.
That was
that's a huge. How much of a factor is that you just love Jills?
Well, are you talking about Homecoming or Far From Home?
Oh wait, sorry.
Far From Home was.
You know what?
Jake
sorry,
Gyllenhaal.
I misread that. Yeah, I didn't like Far From Home that much.
Because I think I had Far From Home a little further down.
For some reason, I kept looking down this list and I flipped them in my head.
No, I mean, it doesn't help that they put the word home in every single freaking movie.
They really want to drive it.
Yeah, Far From Home was. It was like you watched it. That is a perfect example of kind of like what I was saying about the cartoon Disney movies, where you watch Far From Home and you're like, well, I knew he was evil the whole time. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, like Mysterio, even if you don't know like Spider-Man comics, I feel like you can gather that this dude is like a bad guy just based on like the character design.
And I think it had cool elements, and obviously there's a lot of good stuff in the movie, and there's not a lot of bad things to say. And I liked how you can like they added like if I'm correct, you can like rewatch the movie and you can see Jake Gyllenhaal kind of like following Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
In the background, they just kind of like sneak those in. I think that's really cool.
That's a cool idea.
Where's Waldo? Yeah.
It's definitely a movie that it for sure is the weakest of like the Spider-Man movies in the MCU.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those movies that if you haven't seen like basically all of the other MCU movies, you won't know what the hell is going on. It's not like you can pop on Doctor Strange and then be like, whatever you feel about it, you're like, oh, I can watch Doctor Strange without having watched all these other movies for the most part. I can just jump right in.
Right.
Whereas like Spider-Man: Far From Home, you definitely have to watch the other movies because they reference Iron Man, they reference Nick Fury, that
Did that come out? That came out after Endgame.
That came out after Endgame.
The movie, I'm talking like the movie released after Endgame, right?
That and it took place after Endgame.
No, I know that one. I know. I was just trying to think because I remember that one in particular being like Endgame hit. I guess Phase 4 is still going on, maybe, because I remember kind of thinking like, what are they going to do with this film? Like, where's MCU going next?
Yeah,
because once Endgame hit, I mean, it's the end. So like, Far From Home's coming out. It's like, is this the last Spider-Man? Like, what exactly is going on with the...
And that's... Yeah, their order is kind of strange because I haven't seen it yet, so I could be missing something huge. But like I haven't watched Black Widow, but I remember that came out after Endgame, and I just was like, my desire to see it was very decreased.
They should have released it after Civil War.
Black Widow?
Yeah. Because I feel like that would have been like the perfect time, you know, because like she got a little bit of like... Yeah, she got a little bit of like a character boost in that movie. You know, she switches sides basically. So then, you know, release a movie about her. People are interested in her character already.
Actually, pretty spot on now that I think about it. Because I was about to say Avengers was kind of like all right, but in Civil War she had a pretty prominent role with the party affiliation, and she was actually pivotal. with
like she was a good supporting character.
And well, who's gonna succeed? Remember, because she was on one side, and then didn't she flip to the other?
Yeah, she switched sides.
Yeah,
like towards the end of the airport fight.
That's what I'm saying. So I mean, she had a pretty. Man, I'm now thinking about. I'm like, damn, that would have been a great time. Like that happens, and all of a sudden here comes Black Widow. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah.
Well, and I think it's just. I mean, I know it's for me too. I guess this factors. God, I can't even speak today. I have too much caffeine.
It's all right. I said new lotion.
But the thing that I think about is like the events that take place in Endgame. You know, she's dead. So you see the ending of everything, and then afterwards they go, "Hey, I know you had this emotional breakdown throughout all this, or like this very emotional movie, and you know, one of the main characters is gone. Let's throw in this random action movie that took place, but none of the other Avengers are in it, and it's kind of about her."
So I mean, if you really thinking about it now, is like the Black Widow was pretty much for Florence Pugh to get in there and you know, really introduce her character as like Scarlet kind of phases out. So I mean, it's all right. I mean, I'll get to it when I get to it.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no, like, I know what you're saying because I didn't really have, I kind of wanted to see it because I'm just MCU, you know, like I'll watch anything that they throw out because I'm like, even if it's not good, it's worthy. Yeah, I mean, you could have millions of conversations about it, especially with diehard fans that know more than I do.
Right.
You know, because you'll learn something. But that one was, and I think it's like looking back on it, it's really Florence Pugh's platform to say, because she's in Hawkeye. She's kind of taken over for where Scarlet took off.
Is she like the new Black Widow that they're pushing
I don't
for?
remember. So I don't remember I think she's called the Black Widow too, but I don't remember. I think now I'm thinking really call her. Well, I can't remember the Scarlet Widow. Maybe I can't remember exact. You know, her villainous name. But thinking about, I'm like, oh, they introduced her and they're bringing her in. I mean, that was kind of where I think that was the transition point, was that movie. So probably good on Disney that it came out during COVID and they could, you know, take out budgeting, you know, an extra $50 million into it.
Yeah. I guess is there anything else on my list that you guys want to comment on?
The Winter Soldier. How is that 5? I'm curious about that.
I think the action in that movie is probably the best out of most of the films on that list, because it's like the first one that the Russo brothers work on, and you get a sense of their style like right off the gate with that aircraft carrier fight that they like drop in from the helicopter on.
Yeah,
like it's like very well choreographed action. I love the scene when Bucky shows up on the highway and they're having that fight between like him, Black Widow, and Falcon. I really enjoy that fight scene, and it's really like I think it's just a good like kind of espionage movie in a way, I guess, that's like in the Marvel universe, where like stakes are high, but it's still like Captain America's story, and I don't know, I just really enjoy it, and I've seen it multiple times too, which I think helps retain a better spot for it in my memory.
For sure. I mean, I've seen it twice, I think, so I was kind of curious. I never really got behind the whole Captain America, at least the first two. So I couldn't.
Same.
Yeah.
I never. That's why I was just curious, as if you thought there might have been some good writing in it.
Well,
I think. I mean, I like the espionage aspect.
I think it helps too for me personally that it's a like significant improvement on the first Captain America.
Yes.
Like it's a lot more memorable
Iron Man
for me.
2, where it's just more of the same.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a different type of film than the first Captain America film is, and I think it gets a decent amount of points for me just for that.
Yeah. That's all I got. So
yeah, you can do your list now.
Yeah, you want to?
Do you guys want me to go into mine?
Yeah, go right into it.
Go for it.
So and it's funny. So I started doing it, and I was like, I've seen all 27, and I'm, when I look at it, I mean, I'm such a, basic beach, as they say. But
Are all the Marvel movies number one for you? Like,
no,
this is like a trick?
No.
Yeah.
That's why I lumped them together. So like the ones I put made me think, but it wasn't really made me think. It's more of like I appreciated. I wanted to know a little bit more about. It got me going kind of on some. So like number one for me is Infinity War. Number one for me is Infinity War just because of after when I watched Thanos for the first time. So I kind of fell out. Just to give you guys a background on me with MCU, okay? Mm-hmm. Iron Man came out. I didn't realize it was becoming a thing. So I kind of skipped out on some of the other origin stories, right? Mm. Guardians comes out 6 years later. That might have been the second one I watched. Maybe third one. I'd seen Iron Man 2. And I was like, I really like how witty, funny this is. They're very self-referential. They get that they're a superhero gang. And it's like, James Gunn totally plays into that. Instead of like
absolutely
going the opposite way and making them kind of really dry humor and serious. Like it totally was like. So I loved that, and then I got into I think it was Civil War I saw. So I'm at 4 or 5, and I was like, man, I'm just kind of jumping around here and there with these films, and then I watched Infinity War and how they tied all of it together. The stones, I'm like asking about the stone, like what are these things? Thanos, his plight, which I do have a question on later, but like what he was talking about. The villain was super polarizing. Like you've never really see a guy where it's just normally the stakes are high, but it's like I'm gonna end the world. And it's like, why? It's just like, because I'm going to end the world. And like, you're like, okay.
Well, it's like, the Doctor Strange, the evil Doctor Strange. He's like, I'm going to open the dark dimension.
Yeah, like,
you're
why?
Like, why?
Yeah, and he goes, because I can. And you're like, boy, that just doesn't
if you had this power, you tell me you wouldn't do it, okay?
Yeah. So, I mean, like...
Boy, you're really obligated, huh?
Yeah. Like, who, do you get a promissory note off that? Like, what's up?
You get a pay raise?
Rising the ranks in your local community? Like, just going to do it to do it.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. And I just never... That's why some of the origin ones I never got behind, because it never felt like there was... But after the stones come out, you kind of start questioning, like, where are they all at, and... So that got me going. So I've watched Infinity War. When I first saw it, I probably watched it like 4 or 5 times. I could not get enough of like Thanos, the characters. I mean, and then they finally leaned more into it. Like Ragnarok did a really good job of it after Guardians, because there's a lot of soft touches when Guardian came out with, hey, let's be kind of funny. Like the Captain Americas are always very serious, and that's the tone of Steve Rogers, I guess.
Yeah.
But they finally nailed it, I thought, with Infinity War and Ragnarok. And Ragnarok was, I think, the best with what they did with Thor's tone, because
absolutely,
you know what? Like that was
they finally fixed, not even fixed him, but they gave him a good path to stay on, because it's Thor's character was so ridiculous in the first 2 movies.
They finally figured out his character by then.
Yeah. And by figuring out his character, they kind of just copied Guardians. But
if it works, it works.
Yeah, honestly, though, like I don't really know much about Thor, but when I saw the first 2 of Thor, I mean, like he seems like a pissed off 13-year-old.
Yeah, he's very angsty.
Yeah, with bleached eyebrows. Yeah.
That were bleached until
listening to Evanescence, like dude, and then you kind of find out that he's really just like a happy-go-lucky partier that isn't sure if he wants to take on, what his dad's got for him. So Ragnarok makes a lot more sense, especially learning a little bit about Thor. So anyways, I go Infinity War and Endgame. Obviously, Endgame for me is just like, I just enjoy it.
Keep going. I was
gonna say Endgame for me is like one of the ones I hate just to throw it in there, but it is really an easy one that you can watch from start to finish or pick parts that you want to watch. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, so I was kind of looking up just a little bit of trivia, and who was it? The Russo brothers that directed that one too, right?
Yeah, they did both. They did Captain America 2 and 3. Mm-hmm. They did Infinity War and Endgame.
Okay.
They did all those movies.
Now, I'm not sure if it was the Russos or Feige, but there was a big influence from Star Trek, from the All Good Things finale.
Interesting.
Yeah, with I think Star Trek Generations. Don't get mad at me, people. I don't know if there's any Trekkies listening.
They'll be fine.
Yeah, they will be until my car gets egg.
Trekker. The Trekkers. Get it right, okay?
So it's funny you call someone a Wookiee. Concert goers that have dreads, don't ever call them Wookiees. They'll attack you with feces. No, that's just a joke too.
All right.
So, anyways, but he liked the finale of All Good Things in Star Trek. So, that's why it feels a little bit more of a series of vignettes and kind of like storylines coming to an end, because you really
like a few different subplots that lead into a big sort of finale.
Well, and certain other subplots getting wrapped up, tied up, taken care of. And it honestly, if you feel about it, I mean, 3-4 characters in that film, they do a nice little bow tie on it, push them off into the sea. There, I mean, literally and figuratively. So, anyways, Guardians would be number 3. And although I've seen Guardians a couple times, like, it's just like we talked about. I mean, they changed, I think, the whole dynamic of the MCU. And then Marvel Avengers.
Okay, the first Avengers.
I just say that movie was one of the only movies in my life where on a school night, me and my friends went and watched the midnight showing. Before you could reserve tickets, we had to wait in line.
Do you remember how much conversation that movie generated?
I was in line for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It was the best movie experience I've ever had. Like, in terms of like the atmosphere going into it. My sister went with all of her friends. They all cosplayed, so we were all with them, and they were all dressed up as each one of the Avengers. I was like, oh my god, this is sick. Yeah,
that's pretty dope. I mean, I'm telling you, like, so at that point, when we were talking, I think maybe the Fantastic X-Men, probably the closest we had to the Avengers. And I mean,
X3.
Yeah, I'm like, if you think about it, the X-Men was the closest we had, and none of those characters were really, they were all 2D. Except maybe Wolverine.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Even then, it was just him. He was pissed off at everyone. So, like, there wasn't much behind that. He just showed a little bit more emotion.
His motive? He's mad at everyone.
He's a drunk. What do you mean, what's his motive? He's fucking blacked out.
Yeah. And that just doesn't stop either.
No.
Like, he is just drunk angry the whole time.
Even in Logan. They just do a better job with it. No, so I mean, like, that's why I have it on there, because I remember how much, like, how are you going to get screen time for all these guys? How are you going to, and at that point, I'd seen Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk for myself. You guys might have seen Thor and maybe the Captain America that was with it, so you might have been a little bit more prepped, but, like, there's a lot that went behind it, and I think that it was a very good job helping out with each one's story, what's going on and meshing it together.
And like, it kind of, like, it almost seems like Civil War kind of mimics like the beginning of the Avengers, because like in the beginning of the Avengers, they actually they didn't trust each other, and they were like fighting with each other and whatnot. And it was so beautiful to watch, because like they're coming together and how the movie's gonna go, but they're just hating each other, and then freaking Thor comes in there. I don't know. It's that whole introduction scene with Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man was so cool.
Oh, in the woods.
In the woods?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Iron Man comes down, he's like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
After he's like battling with Steve Rogers.
You start to realize how powerful they all are. And then it's like, then obviously the events perspire in the movie, and then you realize like, oh, even one of them can't handle all of it. They all have to work together. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a great movie.
It's really, exactly. And then you get to see the dynamic of the group and how you get into New York. I mean, and then it really turns into, the only thing I probably don't like about that is like, Iron Man going up into, space and stopping a nuke. That's like probably the only thing that I could care less about. I'd be like, if they didn't have that, I still would have had the same, like, all right, because I don't think that at any point, no, maybe, because you don't know if they're coming out with a second one, so it's like,
I guess
Iron
that's
Man
true.
just,
Yeah.
You know what's
really funny on that note? Sorry, I'm interrupting your list so bad, but
I'm doing this because like that's once we get past this one, there's gonna be less talking because I get shittier.
It's only downhill from here.
Yeah, so I'm gonna beef it up in the beginning and then it's just run wild at the end.
I just wanted to add a comment because I actually had this conversation 2 days ago with Lauren, and she actually said she hasn't seen the first Avengers movie. And I was like, we should watch it. It was so great. And I'm remembering all these, like the feelings I had when I watched it. And then I kind of stopped to think. And I was like, you know what, Lauren? I don't think you're going to appreciate it. And I said, this is why I don't think you're going to appreciate it. You've seen all the Marvel movies since then. And I said, the Marvel movie, it revolves around two things. It revolves around Loki is the villain and the Hulk is an unstable mess. And the Hulk is essentially the core to the entire first Avengers movie.
Yeah,
more or less. It's like the Hulk is unstable.
100%.
So if she goes from watching, Endgame, where like you know, the Hulk is intelligent and stuff, and he's talking, and then Loki's a good guy, and like, if she goes back and watches it, she's gonna be like, this movie is so, it's nothing. It's like being in high school and looking back at elementary and be like, why was I worried about that?
No,
There's also like there's some things that have like kind of aged weird with that movie for me. Like I can imagine her, like she might feel the same way I do if I like when I rewatch that film, because to me like the writing in that movie is a little weird now, because like at the time it was like cool to see like the characters like interact with each other and like have this like back and forth thing, but like when I watch scenes from that movie, it's weird to see Captain America be like super dead serious with like Tony Stark, like he never jokes basically throughout the entire film, but like every other character is like really quippy and clever with each other. It's kind of like that Joss Whedon style of writing in a way, which I guess kind of is, it becomes a little like repetitive after a while for me. And also too, just like the wardrobe of some of them, like Captain America's suit in that movie is atrocious.
I mean, yeah, but
that is probably the worst Captain America, or the best, depending on how you like.
Well,
retro.
but at least they're self-aware, because they do reference that in Endgame.
They do, but it is like, and that's why I'm saying it would be kind of weird to like revisit that and like Thor's bleached eyebrows.
Because even says that, right? Like when in Endgame, when Captain America fights himself, and he starts like, he's like, the old Captain America starts quoting lines that he would, and he's like, oh my god, like he's like, oh, just shut up,
I could do this all day.
Yeah, he goes, oh yeah, we get it. It is so cringy. Like he's done.
I think they definitely. I mean, I don't know. I think she should go back and watch. I mean, it actually is be a fresh perspective to get someone else that. I haven't seen. I don't know anyone that's gone and watched, like, I saw Infinity War, and then I saw. So like for me personally, I saw Infinity War, and then I went back and started catching up to it to get prepared for like Endgame. But so I mean, for me, hopping into Infinity War and watching that, and then going back to see everything.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
Yeah, and it's kind of, you know, but and I'm definitely with it though. The writing and the sense of humor and the tone and the pace of it is a little off. And that one, because I'm with you too. When it first came out, it definitely was refreshing because it didn't feel like X-Men. You know, where I mean, some of the, you know, what was happening was really reflective of the characters, even if you hadn't watched their origin stories. Mm-hmm. You know, so
and the movie is a product of its time. I mean,
for sure.
I mean, when I think about like Iron Man, for example, the first scene that pops in my head is when he like shoots the bomb at the tank and then turns around and walks away and it explodes in the background. Yeah. It's like no one would do that
like
nowadays.
AC/DC playing in the background.
Nobody would get away with doing that because people would be like, "That's stupid."
That would have they'd have something. He'd probably come through the ground or something.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be so blatantly like there in your face. Mm-hmm. You know,
it's very tropey.
Oh yeah. So I mean, yeah, and that's probably why I have it, because I mean, this is also just you know, how it impacted me, because I'm kind of Spider-Man No Way Home is another one that I think is going to have some nostalgia behind it. Mm-hmm. If the Spider-Mans keep coming out, they still, you know, Tom Holland keeps, you know, I don't know if they're coming out with a fourth one or not.
It's kind of
there's
unknown
nothing's
now.
Been determined. They actually released a there's actually a video on YouTube that was released earlier this week with an interview with all three of the Spider-Men. Like, it's really, it's like a 20-minute interview. It's pretty actually enjoyable to watch. It's like them talking about their experience working on the movie.
It'll be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I saw a clip of Toby talking. I need to watch the rest of it.
It's from that that video.
So that is where you know, and that one too is just, I mean, it plays into the fandom, and you know, I mean, you get,
it's like all fan service.
It's like the best fan service movie I've seen. Probably.
Yes. 100%.
Fan service the film.
I'd have to go back and watch it, just and like sit with someone that's like a diehard, like, you know, and just have them show me all the Easter eggs too, like, you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and then Iron Man is the last one of the ones that made me think, because Iron Man came out, like I said, it was the first time I had seen so for me, like, superheroes was Superman, No Return, Spider-Man, Batman with Michael Keaton, maybe Christian Bale.
Yeah, I hated those early Superman movies.
They're all bad. I mean, it's just...
I hated them.
And then, you know, this guy comes out, Tony Stark, they don't even show him in the suit. He gets kidnapped, so like, he's your hero, and he's
kind of an asshole when he starts the film. Like,
you don't even like him.
Yeah, who's this douchebag?
Like, he's kind of funny, but you're like, man, those are like, that's the guy I hated in high school. You know, like, he's got just the dumb shit to say, and then he's got all the money to, you know, even like, hey, fuck you too.
Yeah, and then they give him the motivation to become a hero and that's really compelling to watch.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And the conflict that he goes through with, I mean, the sole reason why he's where he's at is what he's going to stop doing, which is kind of crazy. But I mean, I guess when you have enough money, that's what you do.
Right.
So yeah, so those are the ones that I kind of, and Guardians would probably be out of that batch, would probably be at the end of it. But I really appreciated Guardians when it first came out. Then thoroughly enjoyed Captain America: Civil War, Thor: Ragnarok, Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Interesting. So that's like probably towards the top half of your list.
Yeah.
Age of Ultron. Okay.
Yeah. So I Age of Ultron. When you look at the Romanovs, not the Romanovs, who are
the brother and sister,
yeah,
whatever.
But they're not the Romanovs. That's
The
Natasha.
Romanovs?
I was gonna say that's Black Widow.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. It's
Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. That's
right, but
that's
they
just what I
had-
refer to them as.
Okay. Yeah.
Who is also Kick-Ass. Technically.
Yes, technically.
and part of the well, not MCU, but he's
Which
part of
means
Marvel properties.
Nicolas Cage is in the MCU. Well, he is actually.
It actually is.
He is in
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse, which technically is not the MCU.
Well, it's Marvel property, so that's where
no.
you get into the MCU's where it's
Yes,
yeah.
but nowadays it's like if from henceforth anything is pretty much is open game because everyone's like, well, technically the metaverse or not metaverse, the
multiverse.
the multiverse, not
Yeah.
not metaverse, but the multiverse is there. So technically anything is possible at all.
Yeah.
Oh, you could definitely, and I don't want to get into that argument with anyone. I would not.
I feel like we get too lost in the sauce.
Well, yeah, anyone. I mean, you could pull strings from anywhere at that point, right?
That's
If
their
every
plan.
reality's available. I mean, it's like, how do you not connect the dots?
Yeah.
6 degrees of fucking, Spider-Verse. And then the last one's Captain America, the Winter Soldier. So no, Age of Ultron, I really like just because of James Spader, Ultron. I mean,
Like you liked him as the villain, or you just liked the actor?
no, I liked him as a villain. He had his
The motive, like he's an AI that just wants to kill off everybody.
well, and what I guess I have a hard time. I guess it was just how he played the character and how fitting the voice was with who Ultron was.
That's true. I when I do think about Age of Ultron, I do think of how much I did enjoy the character of, I guess, the villain.
And him growing and coming up. I mean, at one point he takes someone's arm off, and it's just like he doesn't even have.
He takes off Andy Serkis's arm,
and he tries to develop empathy on the spot.
Yeah.
Like,
Does not compute.
yeah, and that's why it was kind of funny that I like this character. No, the battle scenes weren't all that great. The opening's all right with it, and then one of my favorite scenes though when Mjolnir.
Oh, the party scene where they all try to lift the hammer.
But
that's
that's
probably my favorite from that movie.
And that's the first time you actually see them in a setting of,
It's like a relaxed sort of
Yes.
like they're themselves.
yeah.
They're
What
just
would they do on a Saturday night?
I know. I
Yeah.
remembered that scene, but I honestly forgot that was in that movie. It's weird.
So I mean,
Well, it's a standout scene. It's
Yeah.
just it's easy to forget that it's in Age of Ultron.
and that's it's 100% because I mean, I guess Age of Ultron itself, the movie as a whole, I would not say it's like fantastic. There are good action sequences in it. They have a couple good quips, as you'd say.
I personally just didn't think, because I like James Spader and I like his voice.
Right.
I don't think I found him menacing as a villain, just because I don't know, like the special effects kind of took me out of it too. Like
With
the way that they
Ultron?
animated his face just looked weird and off to me, and I don't know why. Like,
I definitely would not go to bat and say that this movie's fantastic. I
and
miss this.
he
in
just felt
theaters.
kind of goofy to me. I don't know. He didn't come off as like the villain that I was hoping he would be.
So, and it's funny too because if you watch, the What If series, I guess Ultron's like pretty fucking powerful. Like he
doesn't feel like it in this movie.
That's the other thing with it too that I was kind of like some of these ones they don't do a good enough job expressing the villain or how powerful the villain actually is in relation. So they did. That's why Infinity War 2 they did fantastic because Thanos in the first 5 minutes kicks the Hulk's ass.
Yeah.
It's a great job of setting where he's at and what he can do even without the stones.
Well, not only that, but he like decimates Thor's whole world, basically, like his whole ship.
Well, I mean, you can see his power too with like his army and what could happen because he took out all of Asgard. You know, yeah, and that's where I think Ultron and some of that stuff. Now you get to grow with Ultron. I just liked Ultron's character. I thought Spader was really like I just enjoyed him. He's got another plight where he's trying to end humanity because he views it as a virus.
Yeah,
you know, it's the same kind of thing you know, he's seeking out to do it, but he's also AI, so you're kind of growing with him as he's going. I mean, it's just he's a newborn, but all of a sudden, you know, he's second smartest being on the planet.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. I was reading about this online. Like in the comics, he's such a prevalent, reoccurring villain.
Yeah,
because the whole point of Ultron and like his being is that you're never like fully able to get rid of him. Like there's always going to be like a little lingering part of him in like some piece of tech or in like some different part of the world that like just comes back up because that's just his nature. And it's such like an interesting, like compelling sort of concept to think about. Because like if they had kept it that way in this universe, they could have brought him back as a villain like further down the line.
Well,
but
maybe
instead they just like have Vision destroy the last one. They even make a point of it for him to say you're the last one.
Yeah,
and then he lasers him to death.
That's probably why they did it though. They were just like, we're done with Ultron.
It feels so wasteful too. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean you never know with kind of where they were at with it.
Yeah, that's Age of Ultron.
Yeah, actually, and I read the little fun fact on that one too is derived from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Makes sense.
Created for good, albeit turned out evil. So pretty much origin stories ends the next one. So I got in here's all the
junk.
Junk's at the very end, but these are ones
fluff,
that
the fluff,
the forgettables.
I've seen one time, maybe two.
Yep.
Thor, Iron Man 2, Captain America: First Avenger, Thor: Dark World, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Black Panther, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then Spider-Man: Far From Home. So
okay,
I wasn't really big on Spider-Man.
I could tell. I could tell you weren't big on those ones.
I've never gotten behind Spider-Man. I don't know why. I don't know if it was just Batman. Like I immediately gravitated towards him at that point. Like maybe the Tobey Maguire stuff just made it too cartoony. I don't know.
I think it doesn't help too that like both of those films, Far From Home and Homecoming, like stylistically they're not very interesting.
Agreed.
They're very like cinematically bland movies compared to most of the other ones on there. And it's not until No Way Home that like John Watts starts like getting into his groove and like starts to form a style in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I mean, I referenced that interview I was talking about, but the interviewer in that movie actually brought up a point that it's almost like the most recent Tom Holland movie was the origin. It felt it was more of an origin story for Tom Holland than the first two.
Yeah.
So all the other Spider-Man, their first movie was them becoming Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But it feels like that didn't happen until the third one. The first two were just like action hero movies.
I agree with. I mean that. After what happens with you know. So maybe that's where I'm at too. I don't know. I mean they always felt like it kind of cookie cuttered and you know.
Yeah. I think it was fun watching the first Spider-Man because it's like the first time that Spider-Man was actually like a teenager. It seemed more like a kid.
He's very believable as a kid. Like
yes, it's kid. More a lot more believable.
It's not like you're watching 24-year-old freshman Tobey Maguire.
And Tobey Maguire was great because he really was a loser.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
you could believe that.
Like you don't like people don't like the movies because like, oh, he's so stupid and a loser, and you're like, wait, they did that right. He's kind of such a dweeb. And then the Andrew Garfield movies, he's just a dick.
Yeah, they made him way too cool.
He was so hipster. Everyone wanted to be him. And, well, I guess it's Spider-Man, so everyone wants to be Spider-Man.
Yeah, no matter what.
Yeah, I haven't seen those ones.
That's okay.
They stunk. Andrew Garfield is a fantastic actor.
I love him
in other movies, and he does what he's told to do. But man, those Amazing Spider-Man movies were not good.
They didn't do him justice. The scripts in those movies was really the issue.
And I'm like, dude, you can see how good of an actor he was with what he did in this last one.
In No Way Home, yeah.
Yeah. Like, people are like, oh, he stole the show.
I think, I've seen him in a couple other things outside his fire. I mean, I think he's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I just watched Tick, Tick, Boom.
I got to see that one.
I saw that.
I was like, man, he's great. He's great. Like he gives it 100%.
He really learned to sing for that movie. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. No, it was
Really?
great. It was.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's good.
There's a Scorsese one out there that we might have to.
Silence.
You
don't-
seen it?
Yeah, you're not a fan.
I haven't seen it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Silence. I thought it was good.
It's
It's very long.
I watched Tropic Thunder recently, and you know the commercial for Satan's Alley.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I do.
Probably the hardest I've laughed. But I saw Silence,
Gosh.
like the trailer for Silence, and I would go, "Oh, there's Satan's Alley."
It is. Yeah.
It has that kind of. It's not like
kind of the same tone,
not
but
not
different story.
MTV's Best Kissing Award. Toby Maguire.
Speaking of Toby,
And they give him his like real name. It's
Yeah.
like Toby Maguire.
Yeah.
Kurt Lazarus and
God.
Toby Maguire.
I hate those. I hate that movie so much.
Tropic Thunder.
I
Oh, we don't have to.
it's yeah.
I like
we don't have
the.
to get into
there's
Yeah.
it's like South Park to me where it's like I can appreciate what they were going for. I really can, but it's
Yeah.
like I can't sit down and watch it over
There's
and over.
only.
I can
there's-
watch like the clips of like the fake trailers.
The clip
I like those a lot. Like the Jeff
Yeah.
Portnoy like
Oh,
fart
really?
comedy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
it's
love
funny
that
because
one.
you know what they're making fun of.
Yeah.
And you know it's Jack Black, and Jack Black is he's such like a golden retriever. Like everyone loves Jack Black.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Let's just not.
Anyway.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, I don't, because I don't. I'm in the same. I actually didn't like. So I watched it again. I was just like, I really just don't like Jack Black in this thing. So
I don't like him in that either, and I love Jack Black.
That's what I'm saying. Like I was
Yeah.
like, I didn't. You know,
I did
but
not like his
there's
character.
I liked him in the
only-
fake trailer.
There's certain points. Yeah, I mean, there's certain parts that I do like the opening scene. The opening scene I was actually watching with someone, and it's funny because like you get this, and like if you don't pick up on it's a comedy. Like that opening scene's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Oh yeah.
Like
It-
you're
it
watching
starts
and-
hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then what's the guy's name? I can't remember the guy. I like him too. The kid. Anyways,
Jay Baruchel.
Yeah,
he
okay,
gets
Jay.
stabbed, and at one point he's holding his intestines. He's like, "Oh my god, what am I looking at?" He's trying to put it back together. But anyways, no, there's a couple parts I like in that, and then the movie itself does feel dated with the comedy.
Absolutely.
Speaking of comedy, here we go into the last little crop of films that
Hey.
everyone could have a good laugh at.
There we go.
My title for this batch is Just Did Not Enjoy. Black Widow.
All right.
Ant-Man. That's kind of what I was wondering how, like, that's why I was curious.
I thought it
about.
was the first one was at least funny. Like,
Did you,
and I
like-
like Paul Rudd.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you know.
Like
that's
I
how
like
it
him
goes.
as that character, so I think that helps a lot. Certainly had
100%.
more personality than Eternals.
So, The Incredible Hulk. That is actually every list I looked at was MCU.
It is because who does it introduce? It introduces
It's got Tony Stark at the end credits.
yes.
Yep.
That's what it is.
And I think
thought-
Nick Fury isn't in it.
I
I think
ye-
it's just Tony
so-
Oh,
Stark.
I thought it was Nick. I thought honestly, I watched The Incredible Hulk. Well, and I don't remember a single thing about it.
Liv Tyler's in it, and I remember them being on campus, and
Edward Norton.
yeah, and then actually I think at the end he screams out Hulk smash at one point.
Cool.
Yeah, right.
Did you watch the earlier the earlier 2000?
The 2003
Eric
Ang
Bana?
Lee
Dude,
Hulk.
Of course.
Dude, that
Oh
Hulk
my
movie,
God.
I loved it as a kid. But
Me
man,
too.
that movie is so
There's
it's
only-
kind of creepy. in a way.
It's kind of dank.
It's
if you
really
watch it.
it's dank, but it's really dark.
Oh,
Like
100%.
the whole-
They dive into like
the
that's a
whole-
little
the
too
whole-
much origin.
yeah,
the whole thing's an allegory for like child abuse.
yeah, and the whole fight at the end, like how he gets his powers and like the nuclear thing explodes, but then in
Yeah.
the ending fight with his dad and he's like elemental and stuff, and then like there's like the dogs that get
oh yeah,
all
It's
souped up.
The best the last fight scene, like you don't even know what the fuck's going on. Aren't
You
they
don't-
fighting in a cloud? It's
It's like
white.
a cloud, and then they go underwater for a bit.
They, like
and then
because
they're,
all
like,
the
in
DNA,
canyons.
yeah, the DNA is changing everywhere. Like
Yeah.
Right,
while
it's whatever he gets in.
it's weird, dude. As a kid, I was like, I'm getting tripped out. Like what is happening?
I couldn't tell what was
The first
happening.
time I saw it, I was like, man, that dog scene's pretty cool. Them running into the desert at the very end of it. But yeah, you watch it.
The tank scene in the desert was pretty iconic for the time. I
Yeah,
thought.
Oh,
they
remember when-
parodied it in the Jimmy
Jimmy
Neutron,
Neutron, yeah.
episode.
They
oh
did.
my god, dude! Yeah, the 2003 Hulk. Actually, I remember when this one came out, and I was like, I wish 03 was that.
Yeah.
Like, why couldn't they have Banner where fucking Edward Norton's at?
Yeah. One thing I really liked about that original Hulk is he got bigger the angrier he got.
He did.
I really liked it because I know
there was that scene in the hallway when like he's getting pissed off at the dude with the needle because he's gonna inject him, and he's like taking up the entire hallway.
He's starting to grow.
His eye is like the size of the dude's like upper torso.
And then I think he gets even bigger too because there's like the scene when he meets up with his girl and he's like as tall as a tree. Like, and he like
with
shrinks.
the fighting with the dogs.
Yeah, because he's getting more and more pissed. I really liked that aspect of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that was pretty good. I enjoyed.
Dude, I know what I'm gonna watch soon. I am
absolutely. We're going back,
dude, I'm absolutely gonna rewatch this.
I would watch it. I watched the dogfighting scene just the other day, actually.
Well, Nick Nolte's fucking Banna's really good. Nick Nolte's really good in it. Like the only issue I could really think of right now is the transitions.
The very first, like, wait, when he turns into the Hulk?
No, when they transition scenes and it does like the weird comic
panels.
Book. Yes.
Same.
Ang Lee wanted to be stylistic, so he's like, let's we'll take, I want to.
It's like he was trying to be 24, the TV show.
Was it like Dutch Tilts? Is that what you're talking about?
No, that's the first two Thor movies where it's like everything's angled.
Oh, that is
God.
Yeah.
No, this one it's like they would show a panel of like General Ross doing some of his shit, and then they would also
You're right.
show a
You're
panel.
right. You're right. Nope, I remember that.
I think they wanted to make it kind of cartoony. Like they wanted to have a little bit of the comic strip.
And that could have been that could have been a really creative choice though that they maybe it just didn't hit.
I
think that's what it was. I honestly I think that's what
there were some scenes where they showed the same thing at different angles, just like in different squares on the screen.
Different perspectives.
Dude, there's
like,
somebody out there is saying that this is like artistically genius. You know what I mean? Someone's out there.
He took a shot. Yeah. Well, I guarantee you somewhere in the world this is their favorite movie that we're shooting on.
I just remember the very first scene when he gets so mad and he's like falls on the ground and it was like the camera is like fixed. What do you call it? Like it's like the camera's fixed on his face.
Yeah.
In his face and she's just like and I just remember it looking so cheesy.
There's a couple bad spots in it. But I mean it's 03. I mean for 03 and Ang Lee directing it, like I bet you that movie probably you could show someone that in 2009 or 10 and they would think that it was like it came out last year.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that I'll have to go back, but I remember the CGI of Hulk not being terrible.
It's not all. I don't think it's awful.
It was fine for the time, I think.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
There's a few things in it that are kind of dank.
I use lime green sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So the reason I had to look it up, but the reason why Edward Norton wasn't brought back on for the Avengers was because he would take creative liberties with the script writing.
What's new?
It's
like that's
all he does.
Yeah.
In every movie.
I think he doesn't. I think the only person he doesn't do that with is like Wes Anderson.
That's what I was gonna. Yeah. Like I had no idea. Like he just maybe that's why I don't know.
That's all that whenever you look up something about, like I've seen numerous times where it's like top 10 worst actors to work with. Edward Norton's on like every list I ever see.
And they labeled it, they got rid of him as a creative indifferences. Like that's just what they've.
I'd love to know what his ideas were.
It's not like that, because you hear about stories about like actors being assholes on set.
Yeah.
And it's not like he would be an asshole. He would just like inject himself into every single aspect of the movie. Like he'd go into the editing room. He'd like try to make changes to like the way the film was edited. He'd like try to make changes to like the script and like his character.
Yeah.
Has he directed movies?
He did.
Did he?
He has one that he came out with. It's some noir film that he came out with. I think 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Hell, it might even been last year.
Interesting.
You just take an initiative.
Because I know. I haven't seen it yet. I want to, but I know he was like pretty much inserting himself into like every process of American History X. And
that's the one that I was reading. That's why when you said directed, I was like, I think that was one where
you thought he directed it because he was
like that's how much he had the influence over the film.
Well, I think that's true. I think that like after a certain point, the director got so fed up that he was just basically like, "Fuck it, it's your movie now," and he like just basically quit. And then Edward Norton had to finish the movie.
Like it's bizarre because they talked a little bit about that in the article I was reading. About American History X, and so how he had some experience directing, and they talked about that. And there's one other one that I thought
he had some experience backseat directing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like that's right. He just Edward Scissorhands, like he just goes in there and
Edward Norton hands it.
Yeah. I like that. That was creative.
So the last couple that I got, just because I know I gotta my turn. I feel like my turn's been going on forever.
That's fine.
The last couple ones I have, Captain Marvel, which feels like everyone's kind of on board with. Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
I think it's Gideon's number 3.
You just wait.
Iron Man 3.
Okay.
All right.
Makes sense. It's very
this one might
forgettable.
get Guardians 2.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, I'm out.
You had it lower on your list than I had it on
As
mine.
soon as Gideon started like talking about it and bashing you, and you like had it halfway, I was like,
Max over there sweating to death.
yeesh.
Apparently, I'm missing something.
Damn, bro.
And then well,
I'm gonna come back on, and I'm just
roasted.
I'm gonna come back on for like another themed one, and I'm just gonna talk about Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
You're gonna find out ways how it ties
Yeah.
in 6 Degrees of Guardians.
No, it's okay. No, it's totally fine. I have to.
I'm curious, and so let me just defend myself before I get.
I'm not gonna attack you. I won't.
But
I won't.
no, I didn't have any problems with the characters. I honestly was kind of expecting with that one it was going to take a step up, like upgrade itself, you know. And I thought that they did more of a trade off with what it was. It felt like
It was like an extra movie.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Because
And-
like they're actually dealing with like real shit in the first one, especially compared to what happens in the MCU.
yeah,
Like they really are.
And Kurt Russell's a Celestial in that, right? That's why Peter
Yeah.
Quill's. So that I'm watching Eternals. So Eternals is like it's not in that group. They're all fucking just. I watched Eternals, and Eternals they introduced the Celestials, like introduce, I guess. And then I'm like, I kind of was reading up on some stuff, and Peter Quill's half Celestial, and I was like, oh shit, his dad was a Celestial. I was like, there's a little bit more behind what's going on with that then, and who his dad really is. So maybe what I was picking up on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as with what happened in the original Guardians, for me with the tone of the movie, the pace of the movie, the way it was self-referential was awesome. The Power Stones are what I didn't get at the very end there. I just knew it was a powerful stone, and so like the Affinity Stones, I had no clue what that was. So in the same aspect, I didn't. Kurt Russell being a Celestial, me not really knowing about this and not doing follow up with it, I had no idea that it was a little bit more.
Weighty.
Yeah, than what I had given it credit for. I honestly thought it was just like, let's just throw it on because the first one had so much success. Like, we'll find a story.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, after reading about how Feige had all this planned out, it was going to be a movie that they were going to make. So, I mean, it definitely fit within what he was planning on doing. It just didn't happen because they had success with the first one.
Yeah, I'm really curious how Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is going to turn out. I'm sure it's going to be
too.
great. I mean, I just really think it's going to be great
It's especially interesting because
because
James,
the whole boycott,
the whole James
stuff.
Gunn controversy stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Forgot
I
about
wonder, is he, and he's not even directing or producing?
He is now.
He's back.
They were
Did they-
going. Drax was going to pull out, and I think another person was going to pull out.
Drax. So Dave Bautista was like the most vocal about it in like the whole cast because he was saying how he's not going to do the movie if James Gunn doesn't write it or direct it.
Yes,
like that was his stipulation.
Which that tells you right there, he's a fantastic writer and director.
I mean, he's got a good track record for sure.
Well, you got to think too. I mean, like the writing, 100%, but also the directing. Like there are some guys that just like, I'll do one movie with that director because like I want to. But then if you're a good director, people like your personality, you mesh well, they'll go to like bat for you. So I mean, that's a pretty good sign that I mean he has those people in good hands.
Yeah, and it's. Like, so Dave Bautista was the most vocal, but then they got, I think, like, I don't know if he organized it or if it was just like a group consensus thing, but like pretty much all the major actors like signed this like group representation letter basically saying how they feel like Disney made the wrong decision in firing James Gunn. Yeah. And like basically condemning like the whole company for it. And then time had passed and then they eventually hired him back again, which is pretty cool. They were like, yeah, we fucked up, come back. which you don't see anymore. Ever.
He had some tweets that came out, right? That's what got him into trouble.
He made some very dumb, like edgy joke tweets, like in 2008 or some shit. Like stuff that he had already like apologized for even before the whole controversy.
Yep.
And didn't Tropic Thunder come out after? Like his tweets probably would have taken place,
Right.
And that's it's so silly.
They
but
they were like, we're gonna get out in front of this, and then they didn't realize that he had already done it, and it's just like, well, we don't want a name associate with him, and then didn't realize like, no, he'll clear his name, he'll be all right. Like people can clear their names, as long as he doesn't like. Yeah.
And it's not like he like actually did something bad. It's not like he pulled a Kevin Spacey, He was just making stupid jokes.
Yeah.
God, jeez.
I mean, it's the truth.
True. I mean, that's kind of like that's next level, man.
So is this
like,
why you hate Guardians 2? Is that it? You just hate
Kevin
James Gunn?
Spacey?
No, James Gunn.
Sorry.
You're just really offended by his tweets.
No. I honestly, I've seen it twice, and both times I could never really get into the Kurt Russell's character. I never really got into the Quill's kind of conflict, and then I mean it felt like more of the story, more of the characters were being detached from the group, whereas the first one,
I didn't like how they were separated.
For sure. Yeah,
Right.
and I felt that too while watching the movie. And actually, to make a comment on what you were saying earlier is, I think technically Peter Quill is I know he's part Celestial, but I don't think it technically can do anything from here on out, because I think his dad said that the planet supplies him with his power, and so if the planet is destroyed,
so once he kills Ego, Peter no longer has his powers.
Yeah,
okay.
so
whatever his powers would have been.
Yeah, because he was able to hold the
stone,
the stone, and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, I agree with a lot of aspects. I think what I liked about the movie, I think there was just I don't even know if there was more action, but the action in the movie was like, that James Gunn was just having fun. He's like, let's do this. He's like, I just want to do this scene where we had Yondu throw his arrow and kill a couple people in a field in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's multiply that by 100, and he's in a room with security cameras. That'd be great. Like that whole escape scene.
The action in the new one feels a lot more stylistic.
Yes,
and tight.
and like Rocket, it's so iconic too. Like Rocket, hiding out with the blue chick. I just forgot her name.
Gamora.
Yeah.
No, that's the green chick.
I want to say Neptune, but what is her name?
Oh, Nebula.
Nebula. Okay,
Nebula.
It's like, and then they're about to get raided by Yondu's men, and he has all these booby traps. I think all those little things were just so exciting for me. It's kind of like watching an action movie, and you're like, okay, the story's a little dumb, but I just love the action, and I think I felt that in the movie, because they took all the same ideas from the first one, action wise, and they just made it a lot more fun, and it's still comical.
Mm-hmm.
They focused 100% more on Drax, and and I thought Peter Quill's, not his performance was bad, but I thought the movie it was supposed to be about him and his father, but I felt like there was less development. It
felt like a side plot.
Yeah, sometimes. There was
and then all of a sudden at the end of it, it's them.
Yeah. It's a very it's like, I don't even know. I'm at a loss of words now. I don't know. It's like there was no character development from Peter.
Yeah.
Neither that whole relationship. I mean, you take a guy with his dad and you separate them, and all of a sudden they come together. I mean, just what Peter's going through, and maybe Chris Pratt just didn't nail it. That was the best he could do.
Maybe it didn't seem genuine.
Their relationship I never got into oh man, Chris Pratt's been you could tell he really misses him. When all this stuff starts happening, I mean, when it's unfolding and it's taking that turn, it's just I was like, I don't even care. I mean, I don't, if he cries or whatever and he's like, I have to do this or whatever, I'm really not going to have any sort of empathy or sympathy with whatever's happening.
Well, it's kind of the same sort of effect with Spider-Man Far From Home, where you see Jake Gyllenhaal's character and you're like, all right, I know this dude's a bad guy.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I felt with Kurt Russell. It's like, well, I know this dude's going to be evil.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. I guess I was a little bit more intrigued with the...
I mean, it's a little on the nose. His name is literally Ego.
I mean, but I'm saying, I was a little bit more intrigued with the relationship. I'm always kind of... I like that. I like that aspect of, there's different ways to have the good versus evil and how they develop their relationships or what's going on. And it's interesting that you have a guy who's separated from his father, who probably misses his father, and then you unite them, but you're going to have a good and evil fight. So it's just kind of I wonder where this is going to go or how they're going to do it. Mm-hmm. And
I do though, it's I still have the same point where I don't think the relationship was very tight.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy his dad as the villain in a sense where the movie from the beginning up until the end, Peter like misses his, like he doesn't know his dad and stuff, so he has this huge emotional connection. It's all from Peter's perspective, but I like the fact that Ego like never really changed as a person. Like he's just finally telling Peter, he's like, you know, like I'm like a god, you know, right? Like I've mated with many people and your mom. Yeah, I loved your mom too, but like I like that he wasn't a dad that turned evil. It's just he's always been like that.
Right.
And you're finding out as a viewer. I liked that aspect of him as a villain.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the anger didn't seem genuine from Peter Quill's character.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like their relationship I did not buy it. And I don't, maybe it's Chris Pratt. That's the best he could do. You know,
maybe.
I mean,
I don't know.
It could have been, you know, because I don't think James Gunn and Chris Pratt are all that. I mean, he's a fabulous director and he's a good actor. So, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. I mean, so it's one of those. When I put not enjoyed, it's just one of those things where I'm like.
So wait, you did watch Eternals?
Yeah.
Well, did you?
What?
So is that your?
Yeah, I
is
watched.
that your last spot there?
Because
it almost sounded like you were like, all right, I'm done with my list, but I don't think I heard the word Eternals on there yet.
I said it, and I did it. I was almost going to hold off Guardians too. Now, granted, I don't think Guardians right there might be at the top. Like, I probably would watch that before the rest of them in that batch. Mm-hmm. Eternals, like Captain Marvel, Iron Man 3, probably the two that I'd watch Eternals probably before those two. And
Interesting.
Watching Eternal, it's not very good. Okay?
No,
and
I need to see this movie,
dude,
man.
They jump around so much. It's this.
You don't care about any of the characters. They're so bland.
The best, dude. This movie, I was thinking about making breakfast or whatever, so I threw it on, and I'm like, maybe I'll watch it. I'll pay attention. Like I'm gonna watch it, you know. And they wake up in their thing, and it's like, you know, and then blah blah blah. Kronos made the 6 Eternals, and they all kind of wake up and they go in this. They go out and they're looking at Earth, and you know, the guy and the gal kind of step up in front of each other, and like, now granted they've never met or anything like that, and he just looks at her and goes, I'm Icarus, and she looks at him and she's like, isn't it beautiful? And then like they're looking at planet Earth.
That's
right?
the entire damn tone of the whole movie,
dude. It is. Shit. I've never seen the world ending with the quickest decisions of people just flip flopping. Like they go into the woods right at one point, and they go, whatever, like, Druig, you need to release these people, and he's like, I've had these people under my control for thousands of years, and they're like, now's the time to let them go, and he goes, okay. Like, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You built a civilization here, and she's like, let him go, and you're like, you got it. Like, are you fucking nuts? Like,
oh my god,
dude, so many. But there was like a couple funny parts that I laughed at, where it tickled me a little bit. I was like, all right, that's kind of, you know. And they answered the Thanos question about why. But other than that, man, like, there was nothing. There's no really meat on the bone. Like, at one point, some guy leaves. I've heard everyone talk about this, so I'm watching the final battle, and he's not
so boring.
I wasn't even paying attention. I'm just kind of watching it, and then all of a sudden, at the end of the film, I didn't even have that thought about, like, everyone telling me that he leaves. Like, I kind of forgot about that part.
Yeah,
right?
Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah,
his character just f's off for like no reason.
I don't agree with you or with you, so I'm out.
Yeah,
and then like you,
so
I didn't.
stupid.
I didn't hear him say that. He's just not there. I actually thought he died. And at the end of the film, he's just bad.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, I'm helping you move into the city.
I looked at him. I was
off.
like, I'm like staring. I'm like, what happened? I was like, hold on. And it's like I'm going in my head of the final battle. I'm like, oh, now I get what everyone's talking about. Like, where the fuck did he go? Like, just for no reason.
It's like, oh, he was only like one of the major characters who like actually had somewhat of a personality in that movie. One of the 6 Eternals. Let's just get rid of him.
The only funny part, that's actually, I was just thinking about like what I laughed. That was probably some of his like that stuff going on with his production guy.
Well, he was like the comic relief character, so he was naturally like,
yeah.
I mean, they got a comedian to play him, so.
Well, that's what. Well, it was. It wasn't. It was just the fact that they're like, hey, like, I actually thought it was kind of funny. I was like, hey, we're gonna have like, I make movies, but we're gonna go out. We're saving the world. I'm actually gonna bring you with me, and we're gonna film this and put it on YouTube and air it as a series. I was like, that's actually the world we live in.
Yeah.
Where if I was like, we're
Well,
gonna just
it was like a
take
somewhat-
apart a nuke.
Yeah.
Like, hey, follow me around. We're gonna take apart this nuke or try to find the bad guys that do it. You know, just stay alive but film it, right? And then they meet the kid in the fire. I don't know. Are you gonna watch this film? I don't want to ruin.
I mean, I'm not. I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, we might have already done.
But, no,
well,
I
actually,
still-
no. I don't think we have because there's so much shit that happens in here. Like,
Well, I still want to see it because
Also,
maybe
at the same time, it feels like nothing happens.
yeah.
Stan Lee introduced the MCU religion in this film, and it's just they did about as dry as you could do.
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
That's all we have to say about Eternals, I think, for right now.
Anyways, I was making shit, and you know, I had it on.
I wanted to touch on it real quick, just to get it out of my system. I feel like I had to vomit it out.
When you were talking about how bad it was, I was like, oh, like I hadn't seen it, so I was like, you know, all right, I guess it must be bad if Kyle's ragging on it, you know. But I mean, he has different perspectives than I have, and then I watched, and I was like, this movie fucking sucks. Like, and my buddy's like, if you go in there with low expectations with the film, it won't be as bad.
Like,
and so
that's not a good movie.
No.
So we had that talk. He's like, "Did you go in with low expectations?" I go, "I had zero expectations, and it absolutely met none of them." So like, you know,
met none of my zero expectations.
yeah. So I was like, I'm like, dude, it's just gonna be a film that came and went. You know, I mean, it might set up more stuff, but yeah. So
because that's all they do is
Jesus.
set up stuff. Okay, I put my list together really quick, and especially based on this conversation and stuff. A lot of things to be changed around, but you guys get the gist.
Hey, this is what it's for.
Guardians of the Galaxy #1, Thor Ragnarok,
Hell yeah.
The Avengers, Iron Man, Spider-Man No Way Home, Endgame, Infinity War, Shang-Chi, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Homecoming, Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Captain America, Far From Home, Doctor Strange, Captain America Civil War, Black Panther, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel. Next category is movies I've seen. I don't remember a single thing about pretty much.
Okay.
Iron Man 2. There's a guy with a whip.
Yep.
Iron Man 3. There's a bunch of Iron Mans.
There's an orange dude.
Captain America, Winter Soldier.
Damn.
There was action.
Damn.
Thor.
That kind of hurts me a little bit.
Thor Dark World, which I think
That's understandable.
might be the worst one.
So if you put that one back on and go into it thinking that it's a dark comedy, it's not bad.
I like how that's like your go-to. Like
I'm
every
serious.
bad movie.
You have to change the way your brain works
Yeah.
to
I will
enjoy the film.
I'm just telling, like, so I've heard so much shit about it. Like, I hadn't watched Thor 1 and 2 because I couldn't stand Thor. Like, until I saw Ragnarok, I wouldn't have watched any of them.
I didn't like Thor at first either.
and
Until
then-
Avengers.
Yeah,
The first one.
even in Avengers, I was like, he's the driest one out of all of them. But then you watch Ragnarok, and then so I was like, I'll watch Thor 1 and Thor 2. Thor 1 was kind of like, none of this makes sense. I don't know. I mean, it's just whatever. And then Thor 2, I was like, I've heard how bad this is. So I'm watching it. And as you go through, if you kind of take some of the, like, it's like a soap opera, you know, like one of those Saturday afternoon soap operas.
Yeah.
It's the
Very
really
melancholic.
Yeah, but if you like kind of like, all right, like they're making fun of this or they're making fun of the, you know, I laughed a little bit and I was like, that's not as bad if you can kind of switch up the tone in your head with what you're viewing. Now, granted, you guys can't do it now. Well, actually, you probably could if you throw it on since you've already seen it. If I viewed it as original, I'd probably just want to, you know,
Yeah, I mean that's a good idea. Or what I could do is
never watch it again.
yes,
Absolutely.
I'll watch Thor Dark World,
Uh-huh.
but I will put the audio of the best Marvel movie in the background and just see how it turns out.
See, yeah, if
You
it
would-
ever like aligns. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And when it's good, I'll be like, oh my gosh, this is great. But most of the movie just might be nonsense.
He just turns around. He just starts watching the audio clip going.
Yeah.
I've been watching Thor 2.
I'm watching the sound waves like that.
Yeah.
It's so bad. Gideon's visualizing what he's.
It's like a radio show at that point.
yeah. It's just terrible. Okay, anyways, The Incredible Hulk and then Thor. And I haven't seen Black Widow or Eternals. And I don't even know how to add this comment into the mix, but I will.
Uh-oh.
I've only seen Infinity War once, and I watched it in the theater, and a drunk guy 2 rows behind me threw up twice, and the entire theater had to yell at him to leave. And after the second time, and he didn't leave, and I'm talking like it was unpleasant. I just sound-wise.
Sure.
And then 5 staff members had to come in and get that little wood chip thing, like
Oh,
that like little
The
kids
like absorbent.
Yeah. So then
Hickory.
the whole row had to move all the stuff, and then they had to do that, and then you could hear it moving its way down the theater because
Oh.
okay, I'm sorry, it's gross, but my point is like when I think of Infinity War,
You think of that experience.
I think of that experience, and it took up 25 minutes of the movie, and the
You didn't
entire.
tell him to pause it? Like, isn't there a pause button?
I shut up. Seriously. But I remember one guy was like, "Get the fuck out of here, dude." Like after the second time, he still was sitting there and no one trusted him. He was like, he must have been blasted drunk.
No.
Yeah. But it's like he threw up and everyone was like, "Oh my God." Like the whole theater was like, starts mumbling like, "Oh my God, some dude threw up," and it sounded disgusting.
Of course. I mean,
And then
it's
it was
all-
like, and then nothing happened. And
what was going on in the film while he threw up? Do you remember what
it was during, yes, it was when everyone got to Wakanda and they were running at each other.
Oh.
I'm talking like
That's like the almost climax
yes,
of the movie.
it was literally that. Like when, like I think,
It
am I
gives-
right? The girl has like the fist things and stuff. No, she doesn't have those yet, does she?
The fist things.
Yeah. The girl Wakanda,
Maybe.
the sister. Shouldn't she have like the weird?
Oh,
fist things?
yeah.
Or maybe
she
I'm
might-
wrong.
I don't know.
Oh, are you okay? Because
What's her
she's
name?
like in the
That's what-
lab trying to get.
Yeah,
the
that's
stone
what
from
I'm
So like
Vig's
all
head.
that stuff's happening,
Okay.
and I was like, I don't have time to pay attention to this
No,
character.
I was
I
picturing
mean-
like boxing gloves for some
The
reason.
ground was
Yeah.
a little wet, so I mean maybe the
Yeah,
the
but it
guttural.
it ruined
that
it,
you heard.
it like ruined my experience.
Sounds
And
a
then-
l- hey man, this
um,
movie sounds a little too real.
and
What's going on?
The only other comment I have to say about those movies that I was going to come back to is I was so impressed because I didn't think either of those movies, the Endgame, like I didn't think either of those movies were going to work with how many characters were. I didn't think it was going to be good.
Yeah.
I was like, they're going to be terrible. Like how do you do it? How do you make? I mean, I was hesitant on Guardians of the Galaxy when it was coming out. I said, how are you going to get all these
A
strangers?
lot of people were.
And they nailed it. And then so when they were like, all right, we're gonna take like 800 superheroes.
I remember watching a podcast. I think it was the Rooster Teeth podcast, and they were talking about the first like released image of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and it was them like standing next to each other in like the hull of a ship or something.
Yeah.
And they were like roasting the image. They were like, "Look at this. This looks so fucking stupid. This guy's a fucking tree. That guy's all gray and shit. Like there's a green chick. What the fuck is this?" And then the movie comes out, and it's like one of the best Marvel movies that they've made since. Like it's just crazy, like the perspective that changes once these movies come out, and like.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, no, I don't. Well, because I was big on Chris Pratt, so this was like from Parks and Rec. So this was my first time to actually hey, he's in a lot. Yeah, he's in a fucking movie that's not animated. You know,
And
so
I remember they were making fun of Chris Pratt too, though, because they were like, they got the fucking guy from Parks and Rec in there.
he lost all that fucking weight to do the. Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't defend Guardians because when it was coming out, I don't really remember a lot of the back and forth. I mean, honestly, people had the same problem with the Avengers when the first Avengers was coming out. But you know, I think what they did a fantastic job in, and I don't even care about the phases, but you lay the groundwork and then you build it up so you get to that point in Infinity War or in Endgame. No one's questioning decisions, dialogue. I was talking to my friends about this because we were watching Endgame, I think, and Robert Downey. Infinity War. Clicks a button and it's shoot just comes on. And I go, you understand? Like if this is the second time Iron Man's out, everyone's like, what the fuck was that? Like, really? You're just gonna click it? Like we're so lazy. But he's actually, you get how much he knows about technology and where the suits have gone from the previous stories up into this point. In every movie, I think there's a different iteration of his suit and
like
how
he's constantly like upgrading them and making them more efficient for himself to use.
Yeah.
And for the film to fucking, you know,
Yeah,
like,
and for the film to
we
like
don't want to put him in the
show
suit.
visually, yeah.
So I mean, it's one of those things
Have
where
like a 30-second montage every time he suits up.
yeah. So I mean, like, it's one of those things. Yeah, I mean, I think they do a really good job with the foundation, and they get you to the point where, because like you're saying, I mean, like Infinity War and Endgame, how could you nail it? I think they did.
How they nail it is you kill off half of them, so you only have to worry about the other half.
Yeah.
for an hour.
Yeah.
20 minutes or whatever. Jesus, no, probably 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I don't. Yeah,
That's it.
Can we just real quick touch on, because we all have a commonality, I feel like, with Thor Ragnarok, and we didn't really talk about it that much.
It's great.
Just like real quick, just
It is the Guardians of the Galaxy vibe. They gave Thor some humor. Taika Waititi literally directing and playing the characters is just golden because he nailed it. His sense of humor was perfect.
And it's cool that like they were able to let Taika Waititi like keep a lot of like his style and put it in the movie. Because it's weird how like they did that for him, but then they didn't do it for Edgar Wright when he was going to do Ant-Man. Because he was originally going to be the one to direct Ant-Man, and then he left because
about Edgar Wright. What was he?
He did Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, Baby Driver.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
The king of transitions.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But he left the project because Marvel was like, "Oh, you're getting a little too Edgar Wrighty with this. Like, let's keep it to standard, you know." And then he was like, "Well, f that. I'm just gonna make Baby Driver, whatever." And then he made Baby Driver, and that was a huge hit. But then I don't know when along the path Disney was like, "Okay, Taika, we'll let you do most of whatever you want for this movie. Just keep it like within the story, but otherwise like have fun." And that's really what it felt that movie like that's really what it felt like they did for that movie.
Yeah.
When I watched it.
Absolutely.
'Cause it's like so much fun. And it's like mostly just a comedy throughout the whole thing.
Yeah,
Really.
pretty much.
100%.
You can tell the scenes that come up. You can tell that when like a big wig was like, "Hey man," you can tell those scenes.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take away that much. It's still enjoyable.
No, it gives a little bit more of a real world status of what's going on. Now, obviously, there are like some things besides being in space and the all that shit. But like the vibe itself wasn't pressed upon us too much. The comedy, like it is so natural.
I love it. And I love the character interactions and the writing. Like I think it's like the strongest parts of the movie.
Yeah.
And the action's pretty good too, and the soundtrack.
All of it. I mean,
Well, and it ends on a really massive note. Like literally, like Asgard's gone.
Yeah, no, they
Yes.
they changed the whole face of like what the first two Thor movies basically were.
And it's like for example in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, it's like almost like they try to do a similar thing by destroying Ego's planet, but everyone's like, no one knew this existed 5 minutes ago.
That's
This didn't matter before.
No one cares. It's not that big.
it's funny because I think both Guardian movies too. Like they had two big drops in there that unless you know what's going on, like
Whatever.
yeah. Well, I mean the Power Stone. I don't think any of the Infinity Stones got brought up in any of the maybe Captain Steve Rogers, but the Tesseract. I think it gets brought up a little, but I mean, so anyways. Thor Ragnarok, yeah. I mean, it's very refreshing, very light, and dude, I mean, you can watch this. You could just fast forward to the Incredible Hulk scene and watch them fight.
I could put this movie on at any point and like enjoy it almost every time.
100%. I don't think there's any spot in there where you're like, all right, I want to get past this.
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna find something.
Oh, I mean,
I'll find something and I'm gonna send it to you, Mac.
Scene. And
Okay,
then
I'll find a scene.
now I have to do the thing where I'm like, no, here's why.
No,
I mean,
you're making this a chore.
well, I've watched it a couple. So I mean, like I got Disney Plus. I mean, if I'm ever doing anything, I'll just throw on the movies and
I just Thor Ragnarok. It just am I right? The opening scene is when it's him talking to the smaller Ragnarok creature, or
he's talking to Surtur,
whatever his name is.
He's
the
talking
dude with
to
the skull.
Yeah,
like
okay. I mean, I don't even know who he was,
Surtur,
but like that,
like
it sets the tone for the entire movie. Like literally, he falls down, he's intimidating him, and then the next thing you know, it's just like, like he's like twisting his eye. Oh, hold on, wait till I come back around, and you're like, okay, now this is already nothing like the last two Thor movies. What's gonna happen?
Well, he's sitting there, he's talking to the camera about like what's going on, where he's at, and how he's
trying
gonna
to
get
be intimidating.
Out of this
And the chain's just like slowly rotating.
And then dude, they hit you with the Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin, and he's just going to battle against like 10,000. The first two movies, they talk about how strong Thor is and, like what his power, but you never see him in battle. I think maybe the first one, there's a little bit of a battle.
You never get a sense of how OP he actually is.
This is the second time you said OP. Original.
Overpowered.
Oh
my goodness. Come on, Mac.
Is that a real thing? OP?
Yeah. OP.
God, look at this. It's like Gen X over here.
Man.
Yeah, dude.
Man. Sheesh.
Yeah. Sheesh. No, yeah, but I don't think you ever. I think actually the only time you really do get that sense is in maybe it's either the first or second Thor, and they're losing. They have to stop the battle against the frozen Guardians.
Yeah.
Someone calls it off, and you're like, he can't beat these guys.
Yeah.
You know,
these frost giants.
So like, yeah,
It's good. It's a good movie.
Yeah, I really like it. So I guess is that the conclusion of our Marvel talk? We are a little over the 2-hour mark. So
Okay.
there was a lot of Gentleman Broncos talk in there that I might I might put it
yeah,
into
that's
its own
a
thing.
bonus. Put that in there as a bonus.
Yeah,
that could be a separate clip or something.
I'll decide once.
Well,
I'm editing.
I got one question.
Okay. Shoot it.
Because I had a couple written down, but
Okay.
I remember talking to my brother about this. Thanos.
We really didn't talk about Thanos that much.
I'm just curious.
Is that the question?
Thanos? Yeah.
Thanos?
I have one question. Thanos?
Because I don't agree with what he was doing.
His
but
politics?
I thought it was the most polarizing character that we had seen, and what he was trying to do had the biggest gray area.
He had more characterization than most of the villains in the MCU.
No, I'm just saying,
which made him very compelling.
How vindicated were you for him to eliminate half of the universe?
Like, are you asking like if at one point we were on his side?
Yeah,
like, yeah, this guy makes sense.
Yeah,
let's genocide the whole universe.
No, because with the Infinity Stones, you could do so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why did he have to kill half the world? Why can't you just make double the more food or resources?
I've seen that reasoning before, and it's funny that you bring it up because I watched a video on his character on this YouTube channel. It's called The Vile Eye. He like goes over all these different villains in film, and he like psychoanalyzes them basically.
Yeah.
And it's essentially the fact that Thanos, with the experience that he went through on his planet, you know, he's like, they called me a madman, and he like suggested the idea of like killing off half the people on his planet, and then the people were like, F that, you're going to jail or whatever. And then eventually the inevitable happened and his planet died off, and then that vindicated him into
for why I need to eliminate
get rid of half the population. And there's also that, and the fact that he's got a massive ego. You know, he kind of has like a little bit of a god complex in a way.
Yeah, maybe a little.
Well, a little bit, yeah. Well, because he feels like he's the only one who has the will and the strength to do that sort of thing.
Well, to harness what never could be harnessed.
And that's a lot of like self-imposed righteousness that he just embodies. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about that aspect of his character. It's just they think about him in like the cool, funny quotes that he does, and they're like, oh, Thanos is speaking facts, you know, but
dropping truth.
Yeah, you really have to like kind of think about like his upbringing a little bit, and like the ego that he has to like factor in like, okay, he's not gonna double the resources because, you know, he feels that it's just gonna eventually lead to the same thing anyway.
Right.
So
interesting. That's why I'm kind of.
It's a good video. I suggest watching it.
The Vile Eye.
The Vile Eye.
That's a plug.
Shout out.
To the Mr.
They could use our support, right?
Or Mr. I.
One of the smaller channels. I think he has like 1 million subscribers.
No, really?
So
Let's
I
ask
think he's
him.
Close. He's getting popular.
We'll ask him to plug us.
Please. Mr. I.
Mr. I.
Can you please shout us out? I need the money.
All right.
So it was, sorry, I didn't like. Was that
no,
a good
that's all
answer to your
it's
question?
the first time I'd ever seen something where I was like looking at him and going with his reasoning and just thinking like, man, like maybe he does have a point. Maybe it's kind of crazy to think about what you do and there's no morality behind it. There wasn't any judgment. It's just one out of every two.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't like, Hitler or anything like that, where because you're of this race or of this color or of this religion, I gotta.
He's like, I hate everyone equally.
Yeah, it's just like fuck. I mean, we gotta reduce it. You know, it's heads or tails. And I was like, man, that's kind of ballsy. But at the same token, like for him, I mean, but you do touch on the deity complex.
Yeah,
being like, I get to make that choice. Yeah, no, I was curious. I mean, I definitely wouldn't do it, but it's the first time that you get into
Well, plus, I guess Sorry.
No, it
I
was
mean,
the first time I've ever really kind of. I mean, that he presented a choice or a line of reasoning behind what he was doing versus the others.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I guess you can even think about it simpler in the fact that, like, I mean, think about like serial killers nowadays. Like, you can like think about their motives, and you're like, oh, that what a stupid villain. I don't agree with that, but like an extreme sociopath with some sort of mental disorder, it's just gonna be like, yeah, I killed them because I wanted to. I know it's wrong, but I kind of wanted to do it. And like, so he's just like, well, this makes sense. The math adds up.
Yeah.
Like, he's a sociopath. It's like,
He'll do whatever he can to justify.
he doesn't have to be, I guess he doesn't have to be like, have a good reason in a sense if he has a reason for himself.
Yeah. And they even kind of acknowledge it in Endgame too. Because after he sees that his plan like kind of failed and like they all got the Infinity Stones back, he's like, well, now I'm just going to start over. I'm just going to wipe everybody out and start a new universe, and they'll all be grateful. Like,
that's when it's funny too, because in an Endgame, that's when you kind of see his shell break.
Yeah,
he had this righteous this plan for what I was going to do, and then all of a sudden in Endgame, you could see that no, this is what he wanted the whole time. So no, and that's why Infinity War. I mean, before you watch Endgame, you run into that. So after Endgame, So I was just curious. I mean, that's one I've always liked. I like Thanos, and that's why I thought the two movies were really good too. Because I mean, I thought they did a good job executing that. Yeah, they have sociopath.
All right.
So cool. I think that's a good way to wrap up that discussion. Before we end, we've got one more bit of business. McClain,
I get to sign.
Gets to make a film pick for
our recommendation
next episode.
That's right.
So what are we gonna watch, McClain? What are we gonna?
Oh my God!
What are we gonna indulge in?
Oh man, do you want to go something that we haven't seen? There's a movie that I don't know if
up to you.
You haven't
totally
seen
up
yet.
to you. Totally your choice.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think of what I want to talk about.
Hit me with whatever you want.
Is that Pat Benatar?
No, that's hit me with your best shot.
Let's do. I just want to talk about it, and I haven't seen it in forever, and I own it, and then so I can watch it. We'll see if you can find it. Trollhunter.
What the fuck is that?
Love that movie. Loved that.
Trollhunter.
It's a foreign film.
Yeah.
Yep. I like it.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, I think.
Is it?
At least it was.
It was
when I watched it.
I mean, it's just interesting. It's fun.
Oh man,
it's very
okay.
light.
I won't talk about it. There's a few. When I watched it, there was a few aspects I didn't like, but overall, I thought it was super fun.
I'm sure there's probably a couple. And I watched it like in college, so I haven't seen it in a while. But
it's almost like an indie film with pretty good CGI.
Oh my god, 100%. It's a small budget foreign
The name
film,
Trollhunter was kind of like,
it sounds cringy,
dude.
Yeah.
It's so my buddies in college are like, dude, we heard about this film. It just got released. It's a smaller budgeted film. It's called Trollhunter. And I was like, what the fuck? We all thought we were gonna watch like Trolls 2, right?
Yes,
yeah. So that's exactly what popped into my head.
You throw it on, and all of a sudden, it's this POV about them, like this. They're essentially college kids new at filmmaking, and they catch wind of something, so they're going to turn it into a documentary, right? And so they're filming this doc about troll hunting, and you're watching it, and all of a sudden, like, you're 30 minutes into it, and you're like, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty enjoyable, because isn't it? They're following like one guy, right?
There's one guy, and
yeah.
I think they do the exposition of the film, but there's one guy, and it's with the government that they kind of have this guy what's set up. So how they catch wind of it and all that. I haven't seen this film in forever. But
I might watch it. Jeez.
It was so good. I saw it like in a bargain bin, and I was like, I'm owning this film, so I can watch this whenever I want. Like it's refreshing. Yeah. It's light.
When did that come out? Like 2011?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2011.
Okay,
So
oh really? Yeah. I watched
right
it
around that
I watched
time.
it in 2011 or so.
It really is, and the CGI in it is very now at the time. So I haven't seen this in probably 5-6 years. So I'm gonna watch it again. But from my memory, the CGI in it was spot on. There wasn't anything wrong with it.
I remember that was the thing that impressed me like the most. Yeah. Was it looked really good.
And you hear it's a small budget foreign film, and you're like, but then you're like watching it, and it's pretty.
It slaps.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind when I watch it.
Yeah. I think you'll like it. I mean, if you like the POV stuff too. I mean, that's the one that at the time it was cool, but now it might be out of touch. So I don't know. We'll find
Yeah.
out.
That we're talking about you, Chronicle.
Looking your way.
Dane DeHaan. So, sweet. I will check it out. So you and I will watch Trollhunter for
Yeah.
episode 13.
And we'll find out some other goodies and tidbits in the pile eye to watch.
The Vile Eye.
Who?
Yes. So thank you all for listening to episode 12 of the Neon Crew podcast.
Hey, Gideon, thanks for hopping in too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Are you going to get to that? I didn't
Yeah.
want to seal that. I wanted to make sure that we did thank him for being here.
Oh, yeah. No, I was going to thank him. I mean, after we stopped recording. But
So the guy. Yeah.
Oh, he left the room twice.
yeah.
Or 3 times, I think, technically.
Technically, he hasn't been here this whole time.
That is
So-
true. Well, if
Well,
we,
3 times. So I went
Oh,
out,
we
in,
can do the
and then out.
original
Yeah.
introduction too with the bonus recording, and then just smash
Oh,
that
yeah, I could
together
just,
and
like-
see if it can.
Try to make it cohesive. But no, thank you for coming on again, Gideon. Do you have any parting words for us?
Times Erosion. I'm going to look that font up. I heard it from Mac.
Oh, that's the third shirt that we're gonna make.
Times erosion.
So we have WWTHD. We got to do the THC with the 8-bit picture.
Thomas Hayden Church.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And then the third shirt we'll make is Times New Erosion.
Oh, New Erosion. I thought it was, Times Erosion.
Times Ero.
Times Eurovision.
We'll do a sand cliff squared.
No, it'd have to start as like Times New Roman, but the font
Oh, just kind
turns
of falls
into
down,
like
It just
or
erodes.
starts fading.
yeah, it's like erodes.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
Times
that's
erosion.
the third shirt that we're going with. Matt
Damn.
created a new font.
What a cursed font that would be.
Oh, you couldn't even read it.
Okay.
Merch coming soon.
Sorry, Kyle. Yeah.
No, it's okay. I love it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. You can find us on YouTube. If you look up the Neon Crew podcast, we're also on Spotify and our website, www.neoncrewpodcast.com. You can find a cool FAQ, some about info for our lovely hosts here, me and McClain, and listen to all the episodes there, too. I upload them at the same time, pretty much, that I put them on the other sites. So, got a Facebook, got an Instagram, got a Twitter. And we're all over the place, different perspectives. So
That's what we're all about, man.
yeah, absolutely. Mac,
Thor
do you
2.
have any last parting words?
As always, WWTHD.
Bye, everyone.